Hello, everyone. Welcome to the World Series of Board Gaming's coverage on the 2024 Ring Final for Cascadia. I'm Chris George, and I'm joined by the esteemed PJ Marryme, our 2023 Cascadia champion. PJ, how's it going?
It's going good. Super excited to be here.
Awesome.
Tell the tale of the person who usurped me, because you can see I'm clearly not going to be in this game.
That's true. We had our Family Plays game commenting live on the Cascadia game back in 2023, where you took home your championship ring. And this year there is somebody who just beat you to move on to this final. You got knocked out in the semifinal round, but we'll see if they're able to take home the win. We'll see what happens in this matchup. It's a 3-player matchup, so it was harder even to get into, right? How has your life been going post WSBG? Did you have a great time at 2024?
Oh yeah, I had a wonderful time. Just being constantly swarmed with fans. I'm world famous now. It wasn't true. Like that. Yeah, I did put out some videos on like how to play at Cascadia, and I did meet actually a lot of people in this tournament who like mentioned that they had watched them. So
amazing. I mean, I watched your video. I mean, I put a little how to win a Cascadia on the WSBG's channel, but you had a really awesome video. My favorite thing that I learned from your video was the breakdown of what animals are on which habitats. I think that's like clutch to know.
Yeah.
And how some animals you won't find on specific habitats if you're able to sort of see that far into the future, which a pro Cascadia player like yourself obviously can.
Yeah, well, I can only see a little bit into the future, not that far into the future, unfortunately. But yeah, knowing like which animals can show up on which habitats, like that took me like 20 games to figure out, but now it's become like a bit of an open secret, as well as how good Hawk C is.
How good Hawk C is, which I think we are going to see in this matchup as well. We will see if anybody tries to implement the patented PJ Hawk Wheel of Death that we saw in the previous year. I think some of these players might be all going for it. We'll see. I'm sure they all studied up on last year's final. And,
I shared my secrets with the world. Oh well.
You shared your secrets with the world, and you still almost made the final table. I think that's in the true spirit of the World Series of Board Gaming, of us sort of all propelling ourselves to be better gamers and put competitive gaming on the map. And if you at home are interested in attending the World Series of Board Gaming 2025, you can use the code EARLYBIRD to get up to $100 off your ticket. You can go to use that at WSBGVegas.com, and you can grab your tickets if you want to participate in the tournament, participate in the fun, see how well you do, see if you can compete against PJ and Cascadia. PJ, you also made the final table for Earth this year as well.
And you threw my 2 best games on the same day next year, so we'll see. Which of my babies I end up picking. So
which one you'll have to go for?
Yeah, do I try to take back the ring title in Cascadia, or do I go on the redemption arc for Earth? It's tough, but we'll see. I got some months to figure that out.
You got some months to figure it out. And hey, those of you who are purchasing your tickets with the early bird code, now you know PJ's only going to be in one of them, so you got a good shot at the other one.
Yeah.
So why don't we turn over to the table, meet our players, and get this game underway? How does that sound, PJ?
Sounds great to me.
Great, let's do it.
Cool. And are we on the same page that when a tile is removed from the board, that means that you've chosen it?
Yes, as soon as you take it out of the row, it's yours.
Okay. Got it.
Have you been doing that too?
No, me and PJ, we did, like, you can kind of do your turn however, but once you pass the active card, then it's like...
we're tuning into our players here. They're just talking about the order of play. In terms of drawing the tiles. But let's meet our players. In seat 1, down at the bottom, we have Gary Britson. In seat 2, up top, we have Laura Jones. And then seat 3, we have James Liao right now.
As soon as it's out of the row.
In other words, no looking to see where it fits kind of thing.
Going back and forth.
Right now, it seems like they're just like trying to figure out like... There is like some very specific like etiquette that you kind of like can decide with the players at the table. There are official rules about how like you have to like you have an active player card that you have to pass in order to signal the end of your turn. And a very good thing that's like just you want to do in your matches is just kind of talk to the other players at your table and make sure everyone's on the same page about the rules. Because you don't want to get into like a situation where it's like there's like a dispute about like the proper procedure or how to do stuff. Just really good to get everyone on like the same page, like right from the start, so that there is no hard feelings if like you do get into like a kind of tricky situation.
That's true. We saw in the Dune Imperium final, there were some regulations that kind of had to be implemented. All the players had agreed that once the active player card is passed, that's the end of your turn. Your turn's over. There is no going back. And so some people passed it too quickly, and then said, "Oh shoot, I want to do something," but by then it was already too late, as the players had already sort of established that as their play and procedure moving forward. And so it's just good to be clear. I think you're correct for sure, because you want to make sure that like you can all focus on the game. You're all playing under those same assumptions, and you focus just on the strategy of the game and bringing that forward, rather than these other misinterpretations that could happen.
Starting at this end.
Oh yeah, and things just get like messy if you're not like upfront about that stuff.
Yeah.
So totally agree. And I've been in situations like that where like I've immediately passed the card and be like, I forgot to do that. That's why I take forever on my turns. It's not often about strategy. It's just, am I forgetting something really silly here? And it happens. Like in Castles of Burgundy, I completely mistook like a warehouse tile for like a manor tile or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Because I wasn't used to the version. It was so silly.
I was referring to the animal. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also why
only ever pull out one tile.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, there have been 3 different versions of Castle of Burgundy, so it's easy to mistake those, like the different symbology. Right?
Yeah, and I had like the old like early 2000s version of it, so I was not used to the iconography. So, but yeah, also that's part of the reason why last year's Cascadia final was 3 hours.
It was.
In part because Cascadia is a game where like there are so many different things you're trying to keep track of all at once. It's like an incredibly complex puzzle that you have to constantly break when luck doesn't go your way, and just try to figure out like how to get the best out of like an okay situation.
And it is such an open information game as well. You can see everything that your opponents are doing, and you can see everything that they're playing for as well. And so I suppose you can speak to this. How much of your time was spent in the previous final monitoring your opponent's boards in terms of that hate drafting denial game?
Yeah, so Cascadia is an interesting game where the hate drafting there is definitely an element to it, but you really want to play your own game first. That being said, you have to kind of know like what the person before you and after you is going for, because the person before you, let's say they're all in on bears. Probably not a good idea for you to get into bears, because unless they flip them out of the bag, they're going to snatch all those guys up before you can get to them.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's not even really hate drafting. It's just he's playing his game, and you have to figure out a game that's kind of compatible with that.
Right.
And same with the person after you. Like, it's not hate drafting if, oh, I decide I just want to go all in on salmon after I see she wants them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you really want to think about, like, especially what the person before you and after you are doing. Person across from you in a 4-player game, you can kind of ignore it. But hey, we got a 3-player game here. So,
yeah.
You got to be constantly paying attention to what both your opponents are doing.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points.
Like both pairs are scoring.
I see.
So we have
the
our
players, are talking about the cards that have come up. They're currently talking about Salmon D.
Yeah, so Salmon D is an interesting one. You get 1 point for each salmon in the run, and 1 point for every animal adjacent to it. So Salmon D is a really interesting one, where if you're trying to get the most value out of it, you really just want to add on or have a 3 salmon chain.
Right.
Because weirdly enough, you get diminishing returns the more salmon you build. It just gets harder to add on the extra animals to make it worth it. So you kind of want to run a 3 like right in the middle of your board if you can make it work.
Yeah.
I will say that one I think tends to be one of the harder ones to really finesse it and make sure you get good value. And then right next to that, of course, we have Hawk C.
Hawk C.
The infamous Hawk C. That card is the single animal card that I think warps the game of Cascadia the most.
Right.
Like, if that card is in the game, everyone has to contest Hawks.
Right.
Otherwise, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
You have to have some good Hawk game in it. And as I'm sure we'll see from the players in this game, there's a kind of like lattice network kind of thing you want to go for with Hawk C, where you need to set yourself up where anytime a Hawk comes out, you want to be in a position to take it, because it's going to be that competitive for them.
Yeah.
Giant clump of elk.
I see.
Yeah. And then we have Fox, I think D, maybe?
And then,
I believe that's Fox A.
Oh, Fox
which
A.
is, yes, that one is all different animals around the fox.
Yeah.
That one is going to be kind of tricky to get really maximum value in this game, just because of how the orientation of Hawks kind of wants to be.
Yeah.
You're often going to end up with a fox that's next to at least two of them.
Cool. Okay.
And the salmon want to be like in a run in the middle.
Yeah.
And typically foxes also want to be in the middle.
Okay, what I was saying.
So there's going to be a lot of like kind of competing things here. It's probably not like Fox
put 'em down
A's
here,
like
okay.
Yeah, because
you'll probably still be able to
Right.
get
I got
quite a few like solid ones out, but it'll
is
really
that- yeah, I
be
mean,
hard to
how's
get
the
like a
reach
5-point Fox A
Yeah.
on this board.
Yeah, especially with the combo with the salmon and the hawk, as you were just saying. Yeah, that makes a lot
And
of
we can,
sense.
and
then our elk, our next one is elk.
For the same reason.
Yep, just a bunch of elk, throw them all together. Also kind of anti-synergy with Fox A because you want to have all your elk grouped up.
Yeah.
And then it looks like we have grizzly bears, which it looks like that's the one where you just get varying amounts of points for 2, 3, or 4 together.
Yeah. I think that's it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, an interesting way of how are we going to see these players meld these things together. Of all probably seeing your dominance with Hawk C, the pinwheel of death from last year. I think we're going to see players kind of go pretty hard for it, and then how do they fill in those gaps, and how do they make their landscapes so unified, so beautiful that that they can get those additional
I know
points.
a lot of people probably don't.
Yeah. So looking at the starting setup here, we already see that there's one hawk pair with like a tile that can support it. In the early game, I like to typically focus on not trying to like figure out my grandmaster plan right out the gate. I like to go for just any like dual habitats where I can grow 2 of them at the same time, while also having an animal that goes in like a realistic place.
Yeah.
We do this just like we would during the
Like I said,
that
you kind of want to end up having foxes and salmon in the middle of your board in this game, and most of the time your keystone tile, which is like the one you start off with, that's going to end up in the middle. So going for salmon early on and fox early on will be good to like have something to build around, but of course hawks should still just be like the top priority, I would imagine, for all the players here.
And it's interesting too. Then looking at every player's initial starting board, we see Gary is starting with that Keystone Bear in the mountains. Laura has the elk, and James has the fox. None of them have the salmon or the hawk, which are going to be probably the key players to watch out for. And so it'll be interesting to see how they build that and how they expand. So Gary's going first as player number 1. They're just reviewing that active player card. And so Gary's choice then, it seems like he has 2. If there's going to be a fight for the Hawks, and he's going to grab a hawk first, he's also getting tiles that have dual swamp and mountain on them. And how do you feel about that dual tile with Gary's sort of starting tile, since his mountain and his swamp are already kind of at opposite sides of the board, of his kind of map layout?
It's certainly not ideal because he can't put it between the both of them at once. He opts not to go for the hawk immediately. He instead goes for the bear and salmon combo. And I think this is perfectly fine. Getting that early pine cone from your keystone tile is very important because it gives you so much more flexibility if you really need it. And like we said, salmon kind of want to run through the middle, so it makes sense like where he placed that salmon, setting himself up in the future.
And make sure to grab that pine cone tile.
Yeah.
James reminds him of it.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think, and this is true
I know
for
what you meant,
almost actually everyone I've run into. No one wants to win because their opponent forgot to do something. So even a lot of times, like when the card is passed, technically you are allowed to call it there, but most people will let you like do something. But it is always their right, of course, to be like, we agreed on this. No, like you can't take that back.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think too, a lot of the rules, if you're going to a judging call in that aspect, not that we'd see a judge having to rule in, but it's often the and things that are supposed to happen automatically are less able to be contested as like choices of, oh, I forgot to do that thing. Whenever you play something on that keystone tile, it should be a sort of automatic thing that you get that pine cone, and so it is would be less contested, I think, in general. We see Laura scoop up that hawk, going to invest in the swamplands, already starting that decision and leaving and leaving the option for three different animals in that space where likely a hawk will end up, but still making a nice choice, I feel, to give that flexibility in case that's the only hawk she ever gets for the rest of the game.
Hopefully for her sake that doesn't end up being the case. But you can kind of notice, like you were saying, the position of that hawk matters a lot. You're going to want to end up basically building like triangle and diamond formations. And then over time, if you're able to, building that into like one big hexagon. So right now, like just kind of like southwest of that deer tile, she's going to want to have a hawk go there. And ideally a hawk with a forest on it.
Yeah.
Which we actually see at one tile like that in the middle.
Right.
Yep.
It is attached to a bear, though, so it won't be great for Laura's board down the line, because she only currently has that one bear spot, and she also will want a hawk to go there.
So she can't actually take that bear then. So that tile is dead to her in a sense, unless she wants to abandon the hawks, which that's a losing strategy, I think, in this game.
It feels a bit early. What is kind of exciting too is that there are only 20. Oh, an interesting placement from James there. You'd think he would just go for the connection of the forest right there, but he opts for this diagonal pattern to make it only needing one forest to connect his forest together and only needing one mountain to connect this forest together. I really like that as like an initial opening setup, because you know you're going to get these tiles down the line. Like you have a lot more flexibility in this the opening stages of the game.
Yeah, lose a little bit of flexibility now to preserve the flexibility later when there is so much more you need to manage and make work. So I like that a lot for James. He also goes for the bear, which undercuts Gary in the position like right after him, because now they're both contesting for bears. So I like that move a lot from James here. Gary has an interesting decision here. He'll, I imagine, want to take one of the salmon, because looking at his board, he most likely wants a hawk on that other tile. And he could go for either a salmon or a bear in the other, but essentially he's very like salmon dependent right now. Oh, so he goes for the hawk. That's very fair. Like I said, as soon as a hawk like shows up, you do want to prioritize that, because if he doesn't take it, you better believe that the person right after him will, because she already has a spot for that hawk setup. So might as well take that, deny it. No one seems to be pressuring the salmon right now. Seems totally fair.
An interesting placement there from Gary. I almost wonder if he would have had more flexibility on the other side. It could still be attached to the mountain, but he then would have the opportunity of having that be his run of 3 salmon if he needed it.
Let's wipe out the salmon.
But I guess he doesn't want to commit to that salmon just yet, and commit that this is going to be the center of his board, I suppose, is what he's thinking.
Yeah. I imagine he also did that because he is envisioning connecting the wetlands to the wetlands on his starting one. The only issue with that is that it would close out the forest.
Right.
So it would basically, like, quote-unquote, waste that habitat. Yeah. But that could be fine to do, especially, like, early on. You have the opportunity to build out another big forest if you need to.
Right.
The problem is forgetting to put them back, which happened once or twice.
So we're seeing some hawks. I imagine, one of them will be taken.
I love seeing this hawk battle. It's so exciting to me.
So for putting it there, it's going to be used for salmon, which is still going to be good. Like we said, salmon running right through the middle is going to be great.
Yeah.
The only thing is she is now a little salmon dependent, and she did just throw all the salmon tokens back in the bag.
Yeah.
So if a salmon or a deer doesn't show up, it might make her life a little difficult in terms of like getting a optimal play down. But there's a deer.
There's a deer. Nobody's going to be getting deer as of yet. Tile's not great for her, especially in terms of how she's placed that wetland, hoping to expand the wetland out, down, and then again loop back with that mountain seems to be Laura's play.
Yep. I like that placement, I think. It also gives her the opportunity to play a dual wetland forest tile, like right up next to it. Which, again, there is like the one with the bear attached to it that would work really nicely there, as long as she had a place to put the bear.
Right.
But that's not currently the case. Oh, and another hawk has been snatched up. And that fox looks pretty good for James. He's going to match it with a bear and a hawk at the very least, most likely another fox. So what's unique about Fox A is that it's the only one where you actually score points off of adjacent foxes as well. So having two next to each other like James is doing is actually exactly what you want to do, because they'll both feed each other a point, and they'll often benefit from having different animals around them too.
Although I think I might have led you astray. It might just be the coloring, but now it feels like the coloring might be... Does that look like a salmon on his starting tile there, or is it still a fox? No, it's still a fox. My eyes are just deceiving me. My colorblind was showing, I suppose. I'm not colorblind, but I apparently am for 1 second of the Cascadia file.
Yeah, and you can also know what keystone is like their preferred keystone.
Right.
So salmon like to show up on the water,
of course,
and that makes sense, right? Very true to life.
We do see some plain salmon, which was discussed at length during your Cascadia final. I know.
Bit of a stretch, yeah.
But we see that on Gary's board. He grabs the bear.
Yep.
What is interesting about all three of these players pursuing this hawk strategy is one of them is guaranteed to not get the full 7 hawks needed to create the final wheel, because there's only 20 of each tile. And so we'll need 7, 7, and that only leaves 6. So one of these players will, by all investing in it, which I think you all need to, we're sort of, they might be stricken by the luck of the draw, or also making these pine cones even more effective and important to use when you need to get to those draws near the end.
Oh, yeah. Pine cones in this game are going to pay dividends, because normally they're just worth 1 point. But when you get late in the game like that, a single hawk going down is usually going to get you at least 6 points.
Yeah.
So spending 1 to get that's creating immense value from those pine cones.
Yeah.
So I like going for keystone tiles early in this game, just so you have enough of a reservoir to pull for and really help your luck later on.
Yeah. Players just talking about the rattling that you can hear a little bit in the back. There are some Castles of Burgundy players shaking up their dice in behind.
Yeah, I remember watching the Castles of Burgundy live stream, how you could hear excited chatter about the Hawks in the background.
Yeah. I think,
minor spoilers. Yeah.
We probably will end up seeing the players are pretty calm and silent right now, but I know that this ends up being a nice chatty table and a nice friendly table, as a lot of the tables are at the even at the finals, when you're playing for the ring and playing for the glory. It's still nice to be able to joke and have a nice friendly table, which I think is one of the great things that I'm proud of, watching all these sort of final tables and seeing the camaraderie of people just playing intensely, playing they want to win, but also having a good time like you just have at home.
Oh yeah. So here she's deciding where exactly she wants to put this tile. She's probably thinking about it becoming a part of the salmon run. That orientation that she did it in, she likely imagines placing a tile to the northwest of the hawk, so that having the ocean kind of extend upward like that will make it easier to grow in the future. And putting it there also gives her the opportunity to put down another hawk tile that could continue the chain if need be in that direction.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I also like that placement too. We see a lot of bold expansion plans for Laura, where I feel she might want to wrap that forest right around. She can cover the mountain because she could wrap the mountain around on the other side and then grow her forest and her swampland or wetland going straight down to the south.
Yeah. The other option for her would have been to rotate it so that you open up the water like mountain connection, so that if you get a dual habitat of that type, you have a really nice spot for it. The downside being that it kind of limits her options more northward.
Right.
So James right now has a hawk out. Will he go for it? The only issue is that it's another fox. Tile. If he takes the hawk, he basically has to get a fox, otherwise he's not going to have a play. But there are 2 out, so...
There are 2 out. He just has to hope that a third one doesn't come, because I feel the player...
Someone else could wipe, yeah. They would.
Just to make sure that he is severely handicapped by that.
Yeah.
Now, he could take a water hawk, but it's not got a great placement for him, because we would have to put it next to a hawk right now.
Takes the dual habitat, so there's going to be a nice spot for him, or he could put it there. That's fine too.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought he would have put it right in the middle.
Yeah, I wonder what his reasoning is behind putting it there. He definitely knows what he's doing.
Oh, it's because he wants the triangle for hawks. He needs to keep that spot
open yes,
for a hawk
you are
to go
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that is perfectly valid.
Yeah.
So he's looking for a forest hawk to go there as well. Same with Laura. So that's gonna make it a little tricky for James to get it, because Laura is almost certainly gonna want to grab it before he gets an opportunity.
And a very quick play by Gary, who spends his pine cone to grab the water and the hawk to get the pine cone immediately back.
I do.
Yeah. That's just a free hawk at that point.
One's adorable and one's delicious.
So right now we got 2 hawks for both Gary and Laura. James falling behind at 1.
Gary saying, "Hey, you got a nice, great choice here. One's adorable and one's delicious." I don't know if Gary finds salmon to be adorable, and that's what he's and foxes to be delicious, but I'm going to assume it's the other way around.
I hope so.
Gary Britson, famed fox eater. You've heard it here first. The World Series of Board Gaming. Breaking news.
Such slander.
Yeah,
So we got
a
fish, which she has a bit of an option as to where she puts it. I would probably put it on the space with the hawk on it, just because there is still a world where you could put a fox in the bottom one.
Yeah.
But if you are already super locked in, I think that is fine as well.
Yeah, it does. Maybe you just put it there to make yourself. Oh, she's deciding. She hasn't passed the card yet, so could do it. I think having that decision, and maybe just clearing that from her own mental space as well, saying, you know what, I don't want the fox. I don't want to have to consider the fox there. That's my salmon run.
Yeah, I would say the other way would be oh so marginally better, but it's unlikely to come up anyways. So I definitely think it's perfectly fine. And I like the pickup for her too.
Yeah, and a really nice grab with that keystone tile with the bear, because you can keep that sort of
considering whether to take a fox.
Yeah. The only thing about going for that though is both of the other players have committed to going bears. So being the third person stepping in, you're not as likely to get good value out of it, just because they're already going to be putting so much pressure on the bears that if you were the only one to commit for say deer, then you're going to have a much easier job getting a critical mass of them.
Right.
Because for pretty much every animal, the more you have of them, the better. This, salmon, in the game is, one of the few exceptions to that. But, yeah. So, right now, James has a pretty good spot for that.
Yeah.
That's a dual tile. He wants to have his bears together, so that works well for that as well.
A really good grab. Laura was saying, pointing out the foxes that were out in the area. She's saying, it'll be good for commentary. Will James want to wipe the foxes away? Or will he want to take one for his 2 keystone tiles? I think you're right, Laura. You can keep it coming, Laura, and we're happy to have you do the commentary alongside with us as well on the table. That sounds great to us.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So,
But hey, you did it right. Good job.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind if you kind of
Right,
toss it
let's
out.
see. Is he going to pull out a hawk?
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Nope, a bear, which he is more than happy with, I'd imagine.
I just figured I'd get that out.
That's a good tile for him, too.
I can hand the bag, no problem.
Oh,
See
yeah.
if he ends up taking that.
You don't want to be the active player, though.
Right.
That seems like a pretty strong choice. He could go for... Let's see.
It's just taking forever to get to my turn.
The salmon could go into his keystone, so that could be a consideration as well. But I feel like he doesn't have a great spot for the fox tile in his board.
Yeah. It would just be down south. I mean, he cuts off the wetlands, but he started the wetlands in that sort of westerly part of his landscape.
Yeah.
And just having a nice keystone hawk in a place where he knows he wants a hawk anyway.
Lot to consider here. Yep.
Yeah.
I also like
makes
taking
a lot of sense.
Yeah, and taking the bear here is good because Laura has just committed 2 bears as well. And so she has a nice open keystone spot. So now bears are going to be like very much in demand for all the players here. Until someone gets a group of 4, then you'll probably see the demand slow down a bit. Because 4 is like the good breaking point for that bear card.
Yeah.
He puts it in the top left, which I think is fine. It's slightly more ambitious than putting it kind of like making a triangle immediately.
Yeah.
But more likely in the future, like he'll be able to get like a water mountain into that other spot, which is more likely to score on like, both habitats.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good play.
Yeah, I would have thought he would go right away for that triangle, but because of the prevalence of water mountain tiles, I think probably what he's thinking. Laura grabs that fox keystone, having a nice run of keystone. Laura's going to have a nice series of pine cones in her supply and fills up that salmon. All of our talk about which salmon should go first eventually doesn't matter because Laura's going to fill that on her next turn.
Just going to do both. Yeah, and that's why I said, like, it will almost certainly not matter. But edge cases. It's the edge cases that will kill you. But yeah, you mentioned earlier that water and mountain tiles are more common. Actually, every, like, combination in the game is equally likely to appear.
Oh.
Which is another good thing to know.
Right, yeah.
I believe there is 5 of every dual type tile in the game. So there's going to be like 5 plains forests, for example.
Right.
I'd have to double check like that number, but that's another thing like I was keeping track of in like the tournament is if there is a particular kind of dual habitat you need, like how many have you seen being played?
Right.
That's like very galaxy brain kind of stuff to start thinking about. But when you're playing at this level, that is the kind of thing that you need to take into consideration. The only issue is playing in a 3-player game, you're not going to see a quarter of the tiles. So
yeah, there's no guarantee. You can do that in a 4-player game, but they just all might be out.
Yep. Every single one could be just like randomly taken out of the game, and you wouldn't know until the very end.
Yeah.
So, all right. James is making a decision here. There's hawks out, but he unfortunately hasn't set up his board. Oh, actually, he could take 1.
He does have a 1 spot for it.
And
then
the forest mountains, or forest plains, it's pretty good. He's not gonna. Yep, he's not gonna take the
spot away from where the hawk could be.
Yep. He's just trying to figure out like what's the best way to ensure that like this eventually gets connected back to like both terrains.
Yeah.
It's kind of tricky. I'm not sure if it will end up being connected, but it's possible.
He's got to do a little bit of a loop around. But as we saw from Laura's board, those forests started out pretty far away, and then a couple nice connecting plays. Yeah.
So she sacrificed that initial mountain, like in her starting tile, and is just going to build mountains over on the left there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a tricky decision for James right now.
Yeah.
opts for that, knowing that if there's a dual plains forest hawk in a perfect world, he can still be touching that keystone of the plains, still capitalize on that forest, and also hopefully loop around, have his cake and eat it 3 times.
Yep. Now, let's see. There is a hawk. Yep. Okay, the hawk is gone. I feel like that's going to be said a lot this game.
Yeah.
Gets a quick pine cone. Yep.
All the players immediately recognizing its value and building from there.
Mm-hmm. And that looks like a lovely spot there.
Oh, sorry, I have 2.
Helps connect the salmon run. Seems like we're double checking to see pine cones are in order.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just asked on the count.
Yeah.
It's an interesting salmon run placement now for Gary, since he decided to put that hawk over on the left. I guess you can still make that hawk be his center hawk and wrap around and still make a circle around it. But I feel it gives him a little bit less flexibility with that salmon run than he otherwise might have.
I certainly agree, because now he has to expand out the bottom of his board more to like accommodate those salmon. I think I end up liking that placement there.
Yeah.
What's kind of interesting about Cascadia is that oftentimes making your board look as aesthetically like pretty in terms of like how the habitats shape out, it's actually not the most efficient. That's why you kind of see these kind of like jagged formations for habitats, like we kind of see on like Gary and James's board. Just ends up being a bit more efficient.
It looked like you put it that way.
So this tile.
That's the tile, yeah. I'm deciding on the fox. Let's take the.
All right, so let's see.
Fox, yep.
Using that pine cone in order to take that.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Sets her up with another spot for a hawk, and it also can extend the forest, marsh, wetlands possibility. So I imagine she's going to make a quick triangle with that.
Yeah. And doing the same thing that we saw Gary do, that quick in and out, back and forth. She knew she could take that piece which she wanted for her landscape and her triangle, and then also just take a fox to immediately put the fox back. It's looking out to be a pretty nice fox too right now, touching at least three animals. I don't see if we'd see. I guess we could see another fox there down the line. I don't see a salmon ever making it over to score that extra point for the fox, unless we create another run of salmon on the right there.
So that poor fox is only going to be worth 4 points. What a terrible... Nah.
Only
that poor
4
fox.
points.
But yeah, that is one thing to keep in mind with Cascadia, is that you don't have to get the most optimal points out of every animal. 4 is perfectly good. If you overextend and try to go for 5, you're probably losing points elsewhere to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 is a very good amount of points to get for an animal, especially when you consider like an elk breakdown of if you get all 7 elk, I think it's still less than 4 points an elk. Or it might be exactly 4, but you still have to invest 7 elk to get that.
Yeah, it's a huge investment, and for those kinds of ones, they cap out at, I believe, 3.5 points. That's part of why Hawk C becomes so insane, because once you have your grid set up, every hawk you place is worth 6 points, because it'll usually be able to see at least 2 other hawks if you set up your board right.
Yeah.
So it's crazy efficient for scoring. Now we have to see, does our friend Gary want a deer, or is he going to send them into the ether? He has a spot on his board for deer.
It's true.
There's definitely not a hawk going there, so he probably wants deer at some point. But does he push and try to get like a salmon instead?
Yeah, I feel because it's a free wipe, if I was Gary, I'd probably wipe it and hope for a salmon to pop up. But because we know there's only one spot on the... He'll either want deer or salmon, I suppose. Or if a bear comes up, he could get his 4th bear group if it happened to be plopped in the right spot. But I don't see the tile working out just because it is that
the
Well, I guess he
fox.
he could add it into if a bear managed to land on one that had the water tile, but it's not got the good dual tile placement for him. Does go for the elk. And is he going to slot that in the middle there and just sort of bury that forest?
Yeah, I think that forest is never going to see value. Yeah. So I would like it, if he flips it around like that, so that he can extend like the water and mountains at the same time.
Right.
Yep, just like so. Unfortunately for Gary, the tile he really wanted here, I think, was the one attached to the fox, and that's the only tile he couldn't actually take because he had no place for the fox. So.
And the wipe wouldn't matter.
Yeah. And that's part of like why keeping your flexibility open is so important. There he had 2 tiles that basically needed like a salmon or like a deer. Yeah. So he can only take 2 out of the 5 animals. Right now, Laura could take a hawk, a bear, or a salmon, but she most likely doesn't want to use that tile there for a salmon.
Yeah.
It could work, but it would certainly not be ideal.
The 3. You know, she starts her bear duo. She doesn't have to invest in it anymore, and then can just get a salmon later on. It wouldn't be the worst concession to end up putting a bear there, but yeah, I agree. Likely wants the salmon there.
The only tile there that's actually got a pair on it is the deer on the right with the forest and mountain tile. Which, that wouldn't be terrible for her because she does have a deer in the forest already, and you probably want to extend it. So I think that's a consideration too. She can't take the fox, and she can't take the other. So really it's only the salmon tile or that right deer tile that she's probably choosing between.
Yeah.
Decides to go with the salmon. Yep. And I think I prefer that because it is going to be most likely a dual habitat here for her. Now it's just, what does she want to do with it?
I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of placement.
Yep.
You can wrap that right around, and she'll get connected as she looped her forest in. That's a really nice... Man, I feel like every one of these plays and grabs has been pretty nice so far. All these players are great Cascadia players.
Oh, yeah. I'd imagine she's trying to decide that probably wants to be a fox. So she's thinking, like, where does the fox want to go? It could be a bear.
Yeah.
But if I was in her position, I would be trying to figure out, like, how can I make this the best fox possible?
Yeah. Maybe she gets a line of elk to wrap around the top.
I think I like that placement of the tile for her the most.
Yeah,
Still gives her the opportunity to connect the mountain and the wetlands side of it.
Nice.
Perfect.
Oh,
You've been practicing.
let's see. James is looking for bears and deer. Could use the fish. I don't love starting the line of fish on his board currently, just because it seems very unlikely for it to end up in the middle.
Yeah.
So I imagine he's going to take one of the deer tiles. The forest mountain one is probably easier for him to work with, except his deer are on the other side.
Yeah.
So he could try to fit in a fox over there maybe. Somehow. Oh, he does take the fish. Okay.
Yeah, I think he really wanted that forest because it has that hawk placement, and
that
so
makes sense.
Makes the sacrifice of not waiting too long to get that mythical threefer of forest plains and hawk placement. He's got 2 of the 3. The hawk placement being the most important.
Yeah. So now he's gonna want to build out that side of his board, which he's gonna want to put one at that very north spot regardless, because that just makes sense to put a hawk there. And he'll want to build out to the right more so in order to get like more value out of that fish. So if what we're looking at ends up being like as south of his board goes, then I think that could end up working out for him.
Yeah.
Gary has a hawk.
I know, but nowhere to put it.
Ah, tragic.
And no additional tile on the board that can support that hawk. So he can't use a pine cone, a nature token, to take it. So it looks like that hawk's going to result in a nice grab from Laura, also with that dual mountain and wetland area. That feels like a really nice tile for Laura's chances that Gary can't afford to deny.
Yeah, unless he uses a pine cone to refresh everything and go for a salmon, which I could see because he needs a salmon or a bear here.
Yeah.
Or he takes a tile that has a deer on it and uses that somewhere. But that only leaves him with the tile on the far right, which that's fine. Like, he can continue to grow his forest.
Yeah, I think
it just doesn't feel great.
Yeah, he might like that second tile that's currently attached to the hawk because it has that wetlands and the mountain, and that works really well as a dual habitat for him. But is it worth spending a nature token to grab an elk along with that?
Yeah, spending nature tokens here doesn't feel great. Yep, ends up saving them, goes for just the safe play. It's not a bad play by any stretch. Like, it just isn't, like, exciting. He still has the same bear and salmon problem that he had before, still doesn't have a place to put a hawk.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a scary situation here for him. Trying to decide how exactly he wants to close this out. I kind of like just shoving the mountain in there, like having it be in the middle.
Yeah, we know it's not going to score.
So might as well just get it out of the way.
Get rid of it, yeah. Don't leave any loose ends.
Yep. I like that play. And this is also the point in the game where you start considering terrain, because terrain majorities are very powerful, like, swings in the late game. James ended up beating me because we had Hawk C in our game, but we were so busy contesting it that he was able to score an insane amount of points on terrain. Because we had to spend all our resources fighting for Hawks.
Right.
We still had a respectable number, but clutched a bunch of majorities.
Excited when that was
so, of course, Hawk goes.
Yeah,
that tile is amazing for her because it lets her build out both the mountains and wetlands again.
Like, no, it's just gonna give more birds.
It'll be a little tricky to make both of those work. She could just put it at the bottom, or she could put it in kind of like the middle there, continuing that salmon run. Try to see if there's a configuration there that will let everything link up. See what she ends up going for. That would also be a fine placement if a little ambitious. Because you would have to place two like wetlands tiles over there to fully connect it.
Yeah. It feels like we want to maybe take the...
Yeah, I always paint myself into this corner, and then it's like, you can't actually make that work, I think. At least I haven't found a way.
Wondering why she's not considering putting it like more at the top.
Maybe just for fox placement, but even still, that feels a bit far out to... Or she really wants the wetland to cut across. If you feel like you have to cut across with wetlands either way.
Yeah. So there she would want a mountain to connect to those three, and you would need one to connect the wetlands.
But I do like that as a placement. Yeah.
Yeah. It works well for the terrain. The only question is that fox going to get value, or do you put a deer over there? I think
or is that just her empty tile? Like that, we'll see that one be an empty tile at the end of the game.
Yeah, very well might be. But getting an empty tile this early on feels really bad because you're permanently narrowing your options from like 3 good animals to 2.
Right.
So now James could choose between either foxes or deer.
He's already used both of his keystone foxes, so no longer has that need for foxes.
He has a spot for deer, and he does have a hawk on one of the tiles. So that definitely seems tempting.
Yeah. And it is a mountain too. So
yeah,
that feels like that's going to be the one he takes.
Yeah, he will require, like, he will have 2 tiles dedicated to, like, hawks basically on his board, so we would have to get a bear or a hawk on his next pull.
Right.
I can't imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels too valuable to leave out there, especially when the reason why Gary couldn't take that hawk is because he didn't have the hawk spot on the board.
Oh, we do. You keep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, perhaps. I also wiped 3. I mean, they went back in.
That's true.
Deer goes there. Oh, and he's going to use it for... Okay, not the mountain. He's going to use it for the plains. I like that. That actually is probably better because mountains is one of the hawk's like native habitats. So you're more likely to find a hawk on a tile with a mountain on it than a tile with the plains on it.
Mm.
So that's probably what he's considering here.
Yeah, making sure that's locked in there.
Yeah. I would rotate this, let me think, counterclockwise a little bit. Just because I think the planes pointing upwards is really unlikely to get any value.
Right.
Because there's already planes, like, up there anyways.
Yeah, everywhere, pretty much. Oh, he pivot.
He might go for the mountains instead.
Doesn't like the way that plains is oriented. I don't know. I think you're right with that gut instinct for the plains might be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I try out the stack and I put it there, then I pick it up again.
Yeah.
All right.
The ops for the mountains. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely clear those foxes.
The other thing about it is he has that one stranded plains, so putting it there would help you get to that quicker as well.
And Gary gets a really nice draw, not wanting to see foxes out there. His 3 foxes a free wipe, seeing if he can, if a hawk is drawn right now, that'll be an instant grab.
Yeah, I bet you don't hate
But a
that.
bear,
He is happy with bears.
he is happy with the bear, and that's going to give him flexibility.
Mm-hmm. The only tricky part then is if he takes one of the tiles with the bear, he ends up with, like, needing essentially salmon. Or actually, no, he could take the hawk one and give himself the option to play a hawk in the future. I think either taking that one or the fish would be fine in this case. Just because he's so dependent on it. But nope, he wants to free up the hawk spot. I think that's valid. I imagine it's going to go right up there, or just north of the bear.
I think he felt really burned by not being able to deny that hawk earlier on. And he knows the value, and he knows how quickly they're going to go, too, especially with James having 2 slots open. I think it's pretty important for one of the 2 of Gary and Laura to make sure that there's a hawk space open so that it just doesn't get a free pass around to James.
Yep. And I like that placement of the tile because it gives him the opportunity to expand both the ocean and the mountains on this next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see players sometimes take a while to choose like the correct orientation like that, just because we're constantly thinking, am I being dumb right now? Is there something obvious I'm missing?
Yeah. Oh.
All right, that's a gift.
That is a gift right there. That is just such a beautiful combo.
Mm-hmm. It works wonderfully. Yep, with the forest and the water too.
And the water, that's just like...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, did not have to think long about that one.
Wow.
I need you to draw birds.
Beautiful.
If you accept tips, I'm happy to provide.
That was how my semifinal game with James went. Ended up just pulling like gifts for the person right after me, just time and time again. Hoxie was my best friend last year. Was not my friend this year.
Yeah, James going to back-to-back Hoxie. He's stretched his muscles in the semifinals. Maybe that additional stretch might help. But I mean, Gary and Laura are really like... Laura's had some... That was just an insane pull for Laura. That is such a gift for Laura's chances.
Let's see.
Oh, this is a really nice tile. Again, he gets a double wetlands.
Yep.
Creating a salmon pocket for himself. A really nice placement from James.
Not a gift this time. That's still a good draw for him, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, the thing is, Gary doesn't need any more bears because he's hit that 4, unless he starts another group.
Which he totally could, but at this point, I would much sooner want to go for deer because you've already committed to it somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing the bears now feels not great. You really want to see salmon here or a hawk.
Yeah.
Is Gary.
So whatever he does, he's got to give himself some additional flexibility, or just, again, pass the buck down the road.
Yeah.
He could take that, his water, extend the waterway, try to place that, and hope it's a fox down the line. But then he doesn't really have a place to put his elk right now if he were to take that as a combo. This is a tough board for Gary right now.
Oh yeah. He's either got to spend a pine cone or commit to bears again, the way this board is kind of like shaped out.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the other two animals he'll hit. So if he spends a pine cone, he can pull one of the hawks from the game, maybe. Do you think we'll see players be skeptical or hesitant to use the pine cones to wipe during this mid game for fear of exposing too many hawks or too many additional options for the other players? I feel like
I certainly think so.
Yeah, that was kind of Gary's position earlier on, I think, when he could have wiped those 3 elk and then didn't. And I think he was informed by looking around at everybody else's board and thinking, okay, well, nobody really wants these elk anyway, so didn't want to give them additional options.
Here we go, going for the jagged formation again, or will he... Oh, that doesn't work. Oh.
Yeah, hopefully not that one.
That could, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably not happy about it, but that was really probably his best move there. That tile is not particularly exciting to anyone here, I think.
Yeah.
The hawk is, though.
Hawk
but there's no
is.
space for it, and there's nowhere to put it.
Hawk is exciting for James.
Yep. He's glad to see that now. So what ends up working out here? She does want the bear because she has the keystone tile for it. Only issue is that there's not really a... Well, actually, no. I like that tile for her because she can continue her salmon run.
Yep.
Try to link up more mountains and wetlands. Definitely seems like she's going to have wetlands on lock this game. None of the other players are really contesting her too much.
Yeah.
Forest is a battle between her and James. James is up with 6, but she's still in it with 5. Gary has 2 with the potential for 4. And he has water on lock, it looks like.
He's got water on lock for sure. Mountains also still a bit up in the air. James having 5 right now, but a lot of chance for expansion from both Laura and Gary.
From 2 to 3.
Takes that, which I think makes sense. Now, where in this mess is it going to go? I would probably put it continuing the salmon run, but we will see.
But she could also just have a dual bear and have two double bears, but it feels like a lot of investment for not a lot of payout with a 2-2 bears.
Yeah, having 2 pairs of bears gets you 10 points, whereas having 1-4 gets you 13.
Yeah.
So definitely doesn't feel great to do that. Has to give up the mountain just to make sure that the wetlands is connected. That mountain is almost certainly not going to see him play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be nice to have the dream, but still very good pull for her. Well, it was okay. Hawks would be the very good pulls in this game, I suppose, but
but yeah, I do like that extension of the salmon run through that middle, and the wetlands is the important factor here in that decision making. Oh, options for James, but I feel like with 2 hawk spots on the board, it's a pretty auto grab, especially with a dual mountain water that gets both of them. If he wanted to put it up there, but then he'd have to invest in after bear. Feel like we'll see it on the other side, maybe.
Oh,
maybe
that's an interesting choice.
Going for the dual territory rather than on the
Getting
opposite
the bear?
side. Yeah, he could get the 3 bear.
I think it makes sense in a way because you are also surrounding the salmon as well. So there is good value there. The only thing is that's either going to be a dead tile or you're committing to like multiple groups of bears and deer.
Yeah.
Which, since Fox A is in the game, not the worst thing if you're able to really make that work. But we'll have to see.
Good job, everyone.
We're getting there.
All right. We'll have to see what ends up becoming of that tile.
Yeah.
We are right at the halfway point. I believe,
Yeah, we hear
right?
Gary announce we're halfway through.
Yeah.
10 tiles taken, 10 to go.
With the Keystone Elk there that I've been waiting for.
A Keystone Elk that Gary's been waiting for, attached to a hawk. Feels like he's going to snap that up pretty quickly, but again, you'll see these players with only 10 turns left become more methodical as they make sure they've been playing Cascadia all day. They want to make sure that they are not missing the obvious thing, because it's, well, you can speak to this, BJ. How much of a slog is it, or how much of a marathon is it, and finding your mental acuity at the end of the day versus at the beginning of the day?
Go, it's that last salmon you
Oh,
did.
it is very much a slog. I think I came into the semifinals of Cascadia with like 4 different beverages. I had a water, I had a Gatorade, I had a tea, and I had an energy drink in case I really needed that extra boost.
Nice.
But yeah, I think on that day I actually burned something like 6,000 calories according to my Fitbit. So don't let people tell you that competitive board gaming isn't a sport, because you can definitely spend as much calories as an athlete. But yeah, the mental fatigue is like super real. That's why you have to constantly remind yourself to like lock in, and it's so easy to make a little mistake in a game like this. Like, it's easy for us to like point out if we think something is slightly inefficient, but these players are trying to keep track of 300 different things, like all at the same time.
Which
let's go for a
So spending a pine cone.
This elk is
tempting.
Gary pointed out, why don't you take this beautiful elk? Don't you want to start those elk over on the left side?
Perhaps.
Laura's saying it's tempting, giving Gary the benefit of the doubt, but I think we know. Yeah, a really nice grab.
Yep.
We know she needs that as a salmon there.
I have 2 nature tokens.
And she knows she'll get a nature token back when she fills it.
Yeah. Wonder what that end of her board is going to end up looking like here.
Oh, you didn't go for it this time.
All right, no hawks here, so no auto grab. He is currently looking for, let's see here. He wants a bear or a deer potentially, or a hawk. So he has 2 bear and 2 deer out, so he can definitely do something with that.
I feel like if the hawk placement too, he might feel like he can maybe loop the planes around by taking that tile and putting that, I assume, in the northeast quadrant. I don't think we're gonna ever see that giant loop of planes. That feels very ambitious with 10 tiles to go. But that feels like a good grab, since he does have that waterway already set up.
Yeah, that gives them the option to once again connect water and mountains. Sets up another hawk. Okay. Oh, and look at that. Another water mountain tile, speak of the devil.
With a salmon.
I have to imagine he's going to take that.
Gary must be excited to see the salmon, but yeah, in the terms of placement for it, it's a tricky placement spot. I guess bottom right.
That's where I would think too.
Because you have the potential of the waterways wrapping around.
Put this tile. That's a future Gary problem.
That's a future Gary problem, he says. Yeah, let that guy deal with it. You just enjoy that nature token you took from that field salmon. Future Gary will figure it out.
It seems like if he wants to use this for the hawk placement, he's going to have to not be able to really match any terrain. Or he gives up on the wheel, which doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
So he might just throw it like just southeast of the salmon, even though it doesn't feel great. He could also throw it on the left side to the west of the deer token.
Yep.
I think that would be fine because there is also a world where you can connect the mountain there. It's a little bit of an ambitious world, but it is a world.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you put that out, I really like that that edge of the board placement.
It would close out his wetlands a little bit, but you're not winning wetland majority in this game.
It's true.
That's for sure.
It's pretty locked in by Laura. Sitting at 7, and everybody else with 10 tiles left to play. Gary's the closest at 2. Also, James tied, I think, with 2. So.
Yeah, Gary's just been like not in a great position as a result of like this dependence on salmon, and it just not coming out.
But I think he's been managing pretty well to work around it and not showing really nice restraint with the nature tokens. I probably might have pulled the trigger on a nature token earlier, just because of the sort of suboptimal positions he's had to deal with, and he's shown a really nice restraint of balancing that.
Yeah. The tricky thing with his board also is that he has some work cut out for him if he's going to try to make foxes and salmon work.
Yeah.
And there, we can see he commits to the wheel as opposed to like trying to like make the terrain match, which I think that's the right move here for sure.
Yeah. He needed that salmon, and the fact that he got a hawk with it gives him that placement area. You can lose a little bit of that tempo on the landscapes, especially in wetlands, as you were pointing out.
Yeah, you can kind of think of it as like losing a point by not matching at least one habitat, but if the hawk works out, the hawk's getting you 6 points. In this case, if the whole hexagon works, it's 9 points.
Yeah.
So still worth the sacrifice. Even if that play feels pretty like bad to make, it's still really good for him in the long run.
Oh, this has been an exciting game so far. Halfway through, like
that's Hawk C.
That's Hawk C. These players have not. I love the all these players know Hawk C. You see how they've been building their board. You see that it has been prioritized throughout. We knew that would happen going in, but I love seeing the decisions that they've had to make in between setting up for Hawk C and how varied that is and how that's going to shake down at the end.
Yeah. So right now, if Laura is going for the whole pinwheel of death, the hawk in the middle there on the mountain is going to need to be the centerpiece, just the way her board is currently arranged. Which implies she wants to build out the forest more, and also the bottom or the top left of her board too. So let's see. Yep, continuing the bears, giving another spot for that makes a lot of sense.
Nice spot.
There is a fantasy world where that ocean eventually becomes part of the greater body of water, but it could happen.
It could happen if it runs around.
Not the most exciting play. Had to use a pinecone for it, which definitely feels a little bad.
Yeah.
Gary is certainly excited.
Pinecone, I think, is the question that we'll be asking.
Yeah.
Touche. Just moving these closer.
Yep.
Let's see. James doesn't see a hawk. He's like, okay, well, have to figure something else out. That fish tile with the water wetlands works pretty nicely for him. On his board.
Yeah.
Only issue is that he doesn't really have a place he wants to put a fox, but he could spend a pinecone to wipe and hope to see a hawk, or he could grab the salmon, make that tile work. That'd be playing it safe.
He could also. There's a spot up top for where that's that bear and elk portion. So if he takes the other one,
just now get my third animal.
All right, just takes the salmon as is. gives up on not wanting that water connection. I think that's fine. He knows he's probably not beating Gary on water.
Yeah.
Although actually...
Oh, yeah, and it is a wetlands connection there. I thought
yeah.
It looked like a plains connection, and so then I was surprised that he didn't grab that far right one, which looks like a wetlands plains, but and then just committed to a subpar elk up top. But I really like that now that I see that he gets an extra point out of it. You know, he at least picks up that point and centers
I definitely think that was good.
Yeah, centers that little mini salmon run is going to get full value on those 3 salmon, considering how he's placed his pinwheel.
Yeah, it's definitely looking good for James up there. And he's getting so much value from those 2 foxes as well, currently. Yeah. Like, each one is already worth 3 points. Or the second one is actually worth 4 points. And if he continues that salmon run, it could even be worth 5 points.
Right. Yeah, I'm really liking the way James's board is shaping out, looking right now. That those 2 foxes feel really nice, really efficient. Laura has 2 foxes as well. One of those foxes is going to be getting a 3 value, and the other one currently only at a 2 value, assuming that the one to the left of that fox is going to be her dead tile at this point, with how much she has to expand the rest of her board.
That tile is quite nice for Gary here. That spot on the board is pretty much the only spot he could put like a salmon. Yeah. Just like the way his run is kind of configured. And plains and water is like the ideal one there, because that's the only thing that even has a dream of getting connected at that point.
Yeah.
So good pickup for him. The only thing is he's now once again pretty dependent on salmon, but hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him again.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll want a little bear connection if he does end up wrapping it around. But again, we'll probably see Gary invest in a little bit more to make sure that pinwheel works.
Let's see here.
Yeah, it's so easy. Even when mapping out the pinwheels, I did a second take of Gary's. I said, oh no, the elk where he put that's directly south of his hawk, it doesn't have to be a circle. And I said, no, it's got to be the other 2. But it's so easy to make those quick look downs and say, oh, did I do this correctly, or did I do this right? And these players have been playing all day, so you can imagine that going through their head. Every one of these moves feels so methodical by everybody at this table.
Let's see. I imagine these are not great options here. Otherwise, it would just be a snap pick. But what do we want to end up going with? It's always the question.
Take the salmon in this.
Yeah.
We have the salmon. She's got to take the pine cone.
You gotta get that keystone in there. For sure.
So I'll grab a nature token to go from 1 to 2.
Yeah. That makes sense that she snaps up the salmon, especially since we know Gary wants salmon directly before her. Less of a chance to get it. She's got this to extend her forest as well. Laura's looking really good. She's got wetlands on lock, and she's really competitive for these forests.
Yep. I like that placement there.
5, 6, 7 on forests, and James on 6 on forests. So she takes the lead on forest over James with that play.
Yep. And now she can extend her habitats so that she can potentially match the wetlands as well.
Trying to make an ugly forest.
And that tile there could realistically support either a fox or a deer.
Yeah.
Like, I think both would be perfectly fine in that case.
Both feel very valid at this point.
You were
But a
just
fox
saying
will
you're not liking the terrain.
Will get another 3 points.
This is the terrain of your people.
Oh.
It's got the tree with the Oregon on my shirt.
Gary from Oregon.
Take this seriously.
wearing his Oregon shirt, hoping that will bring him luck with terrain.
Oregon does have the Cascadia, like, what is it, habitat? Or no, it's a biome, right? Yeah.
Maybe Gary hoping that's what's given him a leg up. That's what's gotten him into this final. his knowledge of the Cascadian biome.
Mm-hmm. I do believe in his semifinal table, he actually had to take down John D. Clare himself to make it to the finals.
I think you're correct on that. Yeah, I remember talking to Gary before this table started.
Mm-hmm. I was so bummed in the semis that I didn't get to play against John D. Clare because he's one of my favorite designers. I was just looking over there, seeing them have a great time, and I was like, oh, man. All right, so let's see.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, man, is anyone
takes the bear? So
it's actually a really good tile for you.
Definitely doesn't feel too great or too happy about putting the bear there.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be a pair, if anything.
Okay.
Oh, we see a hawk placement spot.
Hawk after your 5th hawk, you have to make a hawk.
Not great for Gary because he well
I only have 4 hawks. So
he could put it in his plains area, and then there
has to be something bad about.
Yeah, the water habitat on that hawk is is very unlikely to actually help Gary's strength game.
Bad about taking
But maybe he takes it just to deny it from Laura. It looks quite nice for her.
Yeah. And Gary again looking for salmon.
And then the judge will assign tiebreakers based on hawk noises.
So I would certainly strongly consider taking that. And you're in for a penny, in for a pound with the hawks.
Laura and Gary negotiating a new tiebreaker for Cascadia.
I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it.
Laura's saying, hey, depending upon the hawks, it's whoever has the best hawk noise that's going to take home the ring.
Wait, what? Where did this come
from?
I
like that idea. I think we can make that an official tiebreaker.
I think we can make it work. So the players will now be operating under that. We hear some squawking, some practice. Now you'll know why.
Yeah. I think Gary is probably under no illusions that tile is never going to be part of the greater ocean, but it's still very good for him to take. And a replacement tile comes out for Laura that has a water spot with a hawk. That would still be quite good for her. I imagine that's probably a strong pick in her mind.
Yeah.
Because she really needs to open up another spot for a hawk to go in.
Yeah. And it has an elk associated with it, so it's fine. Yep. Can go down below, get that pairing of elk.
Yeah, that second elk there, still worth only 2 points, according to the elk scoring card out, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, opts not to take the hawk placement spot. Gonna continue the bear game. Also helps make sure that she keeps forests out of James's reach, which I think is fair.
Yes.
She's in a very strong spot to get 2 habitat majorities, which is where you want to be in a 3-player game.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do like this play. I think we've also seen, Gary only needs 1 more hawk spot, so isn't going to be fighting aggressively for that. Has no interest of taking that hawk and elk combo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think James already has 2 open hawk spots, so the chances of James going for it, it'll get back around to Laura if she wants it, and maybe by then something better will have emerged. I really like that grab from Laura. To secure that forest majority. I think that's a really clutch play, and not getting tunnel visioned on the Hawk C, right? It's an easy thing to get tunnel visioned on, and she's breaking out of that for a second to make sure that she takes care of the rest of her scoring conditions.
Yeah, and that second tile that was just pulled would have been good for Laura too, because she needs another forest hawk at some point. Will someone else take that? It doesn't work amazingly for James's biome, and he doesn't want the box. He basically needs a salmon or a hawk here, or something that just matches on the tile, and unfortunately none of these do.
Right.
So I have to imagine he's spending a pine cone here.
Yeah.
Just do a full wipe, hope to get a hawk out of the bag.
Yeah, that's me.
And we see the players pulling out the tiles for each other, especially in this wipe. And always going in that same order of drawing one at a time, filling from one side to the other.
And then
2 boxes, but if a third comes out, that's an optional wipe for him. There's the hawk.
There's the hawk.
Breathes a sigh of relief, yeah.
And another bird.
Ooh, and that's kind of a nice spot because he can then use that hawk tile, deny it, use it as a bear up top where he'll want to make that pair of bears.
Yeah, I like that play a lot for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also extends his waterway too. Helping him hopefully get second in water, although I feel like Laura's got her sights set on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Feels good when you use a pine cone and you do get one of those valuable hawks, as we know. We've been talking about it all game.
Yep.
Snags it, drops it down, and let's see where he places this one.
He could expand his wetlands, but I think he's going to put it on the top there because it would work for the bear placement up there. Whereas if he puts in the wetlands, it's not doing that. But I might be about to eat my own words here.
Yeah, it's true. I just feel like the bear gives him so much more flexibility in terms of grabbing. If he puts it there, he's in the same position where he needs hawk or salmon, and if he has any designs with that bear, then he can still get hawk, salmon, or bear now, giving him that flexibility to rearrange.
If he puts it there, I imagine he wants to use it for just the hawk instead of the bear.
Oh yeah, on the right side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I like this placement better though. You do run the risk of being like starved out of hawks, but you only need 2 more hawk tiles like in the game.
Yeah.
And I think giving yourself the extra flexibility to now take a bear and potentially get a water mountain habitat in the future, I think that's a little stronger. So I'm glad to see that's what he ended up going for.
Yeah, I really like that play.
All right. Not excited to see that tile, I think, for Gary. The bear's not really good either.
Yeah, I guess he could extend his plains and take the salmon to finish his salmon run, and have another spot to have a pair of bears as well, as he will want to have.
It does guarantee that if he ends up continuing the salmon run, or if he puts that next to the bear to extend the plains, those 2 water habitats are getting permanently cut off. But I don't think there was really much of a world where they were connected anyways.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be fine. I think at this stage in the game, it's also worth considering just using a pine cone to wipe and start really going for those hawks. Because you're not excited about the tile. Actually, nah. I think if he goes for the hawks, I could see a good argument for it. But I think taking the fish is also just perfectly fine.
Yeah, he does need the fish. He's going to want a bear, and he's going to want 3 more hawks. That's 5 of his next. I think they're at turn 15 right now. 1, 2, 3.
Do we need to pause?
I think there are 14 tiles on Gary's board, 14 animals by my count.
Yeah.
So Gary has 6 more turns.
I love it.
We're good.
Taking a pause here?
Yeah.
My turn.
I mean, you're moving really fast.
Oh,
And players
are they
players
taking
take
a break?
Pause. Yeah, players take a pause to take a bathroom break, which we will, to increase the tension, as we hear Gary saying, give the people what they want. We will cut back after the players sit down once more.
All right. Who did we leave off on? Whose move is it? Is it Gary?
We're on to Gary. Everyone has 6 turns left. They have 14 animals on their board, leaving 6 choices for Gary. Gary wanting 3 of those turns to be hawks, 1 of those to be salmon, presumably 1 of them to be a bear to connect that pairing of bears down below, and then has 1 additional turn, 1 additional animal to grab.
Yep, which I imagine could be a fox, potentially a deer, or maybe another bear. Those would probably be the best options. Or a hawk if you can make it work, but it's very competitive here for hawks, so we'll have to see.
That's true. Even grabbing an additional hawk might deny a player the completion of their hawk. That could be an interesting strategy of having a flexible area. Like James if James completes all of his hawks and has a hawk to spare, I would deny completing a pair of bears and just throw a hawk down there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It takes it away from somebody else. Maybe makes it so that both James and Laura can't complete it.
It happened in my semifinal game. We had one person play, I believe, 8 or 9 hawks in the game with Hawksy. Yeah.
Just trying to dominate that strategy, saying, listen, you're not... no one's getting me.
I had the magic hands that game, but unfortunately, those magic hands were pulling tiles for her.
Right.
So
But it was James who ended up scooting out on top in that game.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. Gary made a slight mistake, I would say, in that placement, because if he rotates it clockwise a little bit more, it just gives him extra flexibility with extending his planes into the water.
Right.
But little mistakes like that can certainly like happen like in such a long game like this.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Yeah, agreed. It's possible that Gary's just going to be focusing on the other side of the board at this point too.
Yep.
And knows he won't really want to extend in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now Laura needs 3 of her last 6 plays to be hawks in order to complete. And then she's not really beholden to much else. She might want an additional bear to get a 4 of bears. She wants at least an elk or a fox in that area, probably an elk. But I think a fox might work out to be similar points, actually. Fox might actually work out to be more points.
I think fox would be better.
Yeah.
I would sooner have the fox than the deer, because, like, at this point, you don't want to commit to deer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because then that other fox gets the score.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that happen right now. Yeah, she rightly recognizes that she can get more.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and a really nice forest there, forest hawk.
I think that's valid. You can also put it in the top.
Now, there is also a world in which nobody completes their pinwheels. If they run out of nature tokens, again, because there's only 3 players in this game, less animals have been drawn throughout the game. There's more chances that you could just have a series of bad pulls.
Any little elk friends.
It's looking nice for Gary right now in terms of nature tokens, even though Gary's the kind of working with the most mishmashed of terrains compared to the other 2, just based upon what he's been forced to pull.
Yeah.
He still has 4. He has 4 nature tokens and will get a 5th once he gets that hawk that's out there.
Sick one that got left behind when they were
Which is good because we know that 4 of the last 5 moves for Gary are pretty much left out.
Hyenas are not real native.
And the others too need to really be strongly like pushing for hawks like near this point in the game.
Yeah, James also needs 3 more. 3 of his last 6 turns have to be hawks. 1 salmon. Maybe 1 bear or an additional hawk, like we were talking about, and then 1.
People at the next table would be really
1 open.
I was actually worried about the elk noises you were going to make us make.
Yep, wants the hawk placement. It works for the wetlands. He can definitely like make that work. Plains would be ideal, but wetlands is also still certainly workable there. So I imagine he'll take the bear on the far right. Certainly not worth spending a pine cone here.
Gary and Laura in good spirits. They know that their moves are mapped out. They just hope it happens for them, talking about their elk and fox noises. Goes for the bear. See this committing to wetlands. Maybe can link that with his 5th one. Interesting. What would go... Nothing great would go into that spot. So it would just be a wetlands tile for the sake of a wetlands tile, I think, at this point.
Oh, for the one just to the northwest of that?
Yeah, a fox only gets him 2 points there.
Yeah. But with the last couple like tiles, like if you can basically use the tiles just for terrain, and the animal token can go like wherever fits for it. So
yeah. Gary perking up when he saw forest and hawk combo there, but I don't know. He again doesn't have a spot for that fox. We were talking a little bit in the break that Gary feels like in a tough spot because he has not had that access to the fox early on.
Yeah, the thing about foxes is that it's really hard to play a lot of foxes, and what that means is that there's often going to be foxes out there for you to take, because you're not going to go through all the foxes in the back. Gary is very happy to see
Gary gets finally gets a nice miracle pull.
I'll never say
Gets
that
a good
again.
break. It's on probably the best tile for him too.
Laura not happy. Gary saying, if you can hawk just in the
Well,
first
there
one,
you
that's
go.
great.
Oh, now Laura's feeling happy.
Laura's feeling
She's
okay.
gonna get a hawk.
She's gonna get a hawk. James wanting to see a third hawk pop up. Gary will just wipe them all out of spite.
Yet, you know,
Hopes to get another one on the rebound.
plenty of room to
That would
go.
be ambitious.
That would be.
Yep, no surprises there.
That's
Right in front of
nice
the bottom
grab.
left.
To get that nature
Yeah.
token
Yep,
back
gets the nature token back.
Nice.
from 3 to 4.
And now if I'm in Gary, I'm like, there's hope. The draws have not been
Yeah.
good, but he's
Yeah.
crushing the hawk game. If he's able to, like, if his opponents aren't able to, like, contest him in hawks, he could very easily have this.
That's true. Laura will also only need 2 more hawks, but Gary getting that benefit of being ahead of turn order.
I like this placement too.
Yeah.
Lets him potentially get a dual habitat in the bottom there, and there's already one on the board he can make work. He's probably not going to be able to get even second in the forests. It is possible because James has stopped building his out.
Yeah. James is only at 6, so could...
Yes.
But he, even with an additional tile, Gary hits at 5.
I got to do
It's a
something.
good tile
That
for
was a
James
very-
that was just pulled out.
Very important reminder.
Let's see.
Shaking the bag. Gary doesn't want to draw a hawk here. James desperate to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost feels like a game of Raw at this point.
A little bit. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh,
That's
dear.
not the hawk you wanted to see. But he has one more opportunity to pull it.
Yeah.
I assume... Well, Laura is going to almost certainly, I think, spend the pine cone. Go for the... Actually, she doesn't need to spend the pine cone. She already has a hawk spot on her board.
Yeah.
The salmon is probably a dead draw. Or a dead tile at this point.
Yeah. It would give her 2 dead tiles, if presuming again. Yeah.
The hawk and the
Yep.
tile.
Alright,
Yep.
that's good. Also preserves, like... She can play another hawk in the future.
Yeah.
Building
able to
out
start
her
building out her planes.
prairie. Yeah.
Oh, a good pick. You know, she spends the point to get a point back
Yeah.
and make sure that she has a place for the hawk, or her next hawk that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, James and Laura both needing an additional tile that will house a hawk if they want to compete with Gary's current setup. Gary's got the setup. Now he just needs to spend those 4 nature tiles. It feels like luck would have to be really against Gary for him not to get that that pinwheel. But a nice tile draw.
No, that's not what he needed. Yeah, that's...
Oh, but no hawk.
No hawk, a salmon and a salmon, not the...
Yeah, normally a gift, but doesn't work
Got
here
2
for
tiles,
anyone, I
he's not worried
think.
about that.
I think we might see James use a token to just get the token back, claim the salmon, claim his last hawk spot, even though it doesn't.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
pretty solid.
No, he takes it.
He takes it and just decides to extend his
Salmon, yeah.
salmon, his wetlands.
Yep. That tile, nothing's ever going to go there. He's just
Yeah.
doing it because he doesn't want to spend the nature token, which I
Yeah.
think is fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't necessarily need that spot, knows that it isn't a perfect hawk for Laura either. No real danger. Although we can't really see, Gary's not going to waste a nature token taking it as that denial play. But it does have a fox on it, which Gary might have eyes on a wetlands fox.
Yeah, putting it in the top left of his board,
Yeah.
that would be a 3-point fox, and it would give him a lot more flexibility because he hasn't been able to play foxes this whole time.
But now, again, another hawk has emerged as it looks like a wetlands plain hawk possibility.
You
Again,
can't take
not
that.
something that Laura wants to see, but something that James would enjoy seeing.
Yeah, everyone here has... Well, James and Gary both have 2 hawk spots open. So they're good. Laura only has 1, and she's looking for, ideally, a water hawk spot. Wetlands she could make connect.
Yeah.
Gary here doesn't have great options.
Or no,
he might
that
just
wetlands-
wipe again.
that wetlands is a half wetlands, half plain just because of the glare.
Yeah. So
I think wetlands would have a trouble getting in there.
Oh yeah, true. You're right.
Yeah.
So doesn't really want either of those.
Laura also looking for that mountain tile too to make the just for placement at the end, but that's sort of a secondary consideration at this point, I feel.
Mm-hmm. It's also worth noting that Gary's water is not safe. James has 5 water right now. He continues the forest.
Yeah. Picks up that bear. He knew he wanted a bear, so just biding his time with his nature tokens. That is one of the 5 moves that Gary needed, so... He's hit his hawk, he's hit his salmon, he's hit his bear. He just needs 2 more hawks, and he still has 1 to play with. Opting not for that, wasting a nature token for that Fox Denial play, and now Laura's got a free wipe with Elk, should she want it.
I think she will take it pretty much every time here. I can't imagine her not taking it.
Let's get rid of the elk.
Yeah.
Probably just double checking. Yep, they are gone.
I was so excited that I got to get rid of them, I couldn't even believe it was my turn.
Laura saying, I'm so excited that I could get rid of them.
Yeah,
I forgot it was my turn.
Yeah, and
the joy on her face.
First and third position, ideally.
All right, you want to see some hawks?
Oh, I'd wipe them if you draw 3.
Really? Well, one,
hawks
you're
would
not
be
allowed.
lovely.
Well, you could with a nature.
She really just wants a hawk or a salmon here.
Yeah.
Really, and the salmon's, quite frankly, actually only worth 1 point. So. All right, that's a fox. Possibility of another wipe.
We hear Laura chastising Gary saying, no, that's not what I want. Gary saying, well, what if we draw 2
All right.
How about that?
His friend.
Okay, so that's a free wipe.
Groundhog. Hey, maybe you'll get real lucky and this will also be a fuzzy groundhog.
Can you only...
I think you can only.
I think you can only do one. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
You can only do one. Yeah.
It's actually
so
unless it's another fox, then
it's an auto wipe. Disappointing.
Thanks for nothing.
Yeah.
Laura really wanted to see a hawk
bummer.
there. That is a real bummer for her.
Yeah, and she really can't make.
Do I want to use it?
The fox is like not amazing here.
Yeah, I always.
There's just not a good spot on her board for it. That fox is only going to really get 2 points, pretty much wherever she puts it.
Yeah.
You need it later.
It's just a tough. It's a tough call for Laura because Laura's sitting only on 1 nature token. It looks like.
Yeah, and spending that nature token to like take the bear in a tile that supports it, like that doesn't feel great.
No.
So
she would have to go for another wipe if she was going to use it right now. She could wipe, hope to get a hawk.
A spot for every animal.
Yeah, but I don't love the position that puts her in.
Yeah. Then you're so beholden to the luck of the draw.
Yeah, I think you take a sad fox here. Like maybe the one with the plains, just build that out a little bit. It surrounds the salmon too, so in a way it's worth 3 points.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Well, she already committed to the plains up top though. So, yeah.
3 more foxes come out.
She's thinking about it.
Yeah, she's really. This is a really tough decision for Laura. I do not envy her position right now. She needed a glorious pull, and she did not get one.
Oh wow, you have no foxes.
Yeah, I don't have any foxes.
What's wrong with that?
Huh?
What do you actually like about that?
I mean, they're just.
There are like 3 elk out of the bag, 2 right now, so wiping does give you better odds than otherwise.
I'm gonna.
James is hoping that she wipes because there's probably a good chance that 2 hawks come out.
Yeah, James happy about that. James also noticing that.
Okay. And then we're going to.
She opts just to wipe the 3.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
I don't
like that.
I don't think I like that play. Yeah.
I think she's worried about giving James too much, but I think at this point you got to secure something for yourself.
Yeah.
Let's see how this pans out.
If she doesn't get a hawk, she's in really bad shape here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. Also, probably would have liked to take that tile.
She said it's going to be fine. She's believing in the heart of the bag, the heart of the Cascadia. Salmon.
They go in the places that they're next to.
Also not good.
Not great.
Not great.
Will this be it for Laura?
No.
Oh, she
Ooh.
doesn't get to draw. She's
Heartbreak.
everything on the board other than up.
Going for the 4 wipe. Not going for the 4 wipe. Might have cost her there. It's always that next tile that's the hawk.
Yeah, the salmon only gets her 1 additional point if she drops it to extend her salmon run. Barely worth taking. Maybe she invests in the bear there, but she could use that to get in on the waterway at least, and do it for terrain up top there, getting into 5 water.
I think in this position that's probably her best move. Or she starts like going for more bears on the left side, like she goes for a pair over there, but that doesn't feel great to do at this point in the game.
Oh my god.
With so few like turns left.
Were you like, was it Seahawks? Oh.
I'm sure she's now counting up terrains to try and figure out like what's in jeopardy here.
Yeah, for sure. This is gonna be a decision for Laura.
It all comes together.
She has forests pretty on lock here, so I wouldn't be concerned about that. Wetlands is probably a bit more contestable from James. And then mountains is up in the air for mostly James and Laura here, I think. Actually, no, that's not. No, Gary has actually a good spot for mountains.
That's true. If he extends it, he gets the 5. But I think James is at 5 right now, and if Laura connects it, Laura's at 5. So yeah, James is 1 tile away from Laura and Gary are both 1 tile away from hitting 5 on mountains. James already has that locked in and can just extend it, but no mountains on the board right now.
Yeah, and the thing about Gary's board is he needs specifically a mountain keystone in order to make that work. And looking around, I'm seeing 1 on James's board and 1 on his own board.
Yeah.
And there's only 5 mountain keystones in the game. Oh, yeah. So that's going to be like a tough thing. And getting an animal there that you want to play, you can't put a bear there, you can't put a hawk there.
You'd want an elk, but...
Yeah, elk would be the only one that would work there.
And still could exist.
Yeah, both are in the box. Like, they're either in play or they're not, so...
Right. That's so tough with a 3-player game versus a 4-player game. 4-player game, at least you can depend on the count being accurate. 3-player, you just have to say, well, I got to do it the best that I can and not pre-plan as much. Or bank on certain tiles even existing, more or less coming out in the right time. Yeah, this is a real tough spot for Laura. And also no real way of getting an additional pine cone back. Like she feels to be at the whim of the bag and at the whim of whatever Gary pulls. I mean, she just has to hope that the nature tokens that Gary uses end up benefiting her, because he does have a decent stack. But Gary will always get first choice.
If there is one upside for Laura, she's already used up all her bad luck, so it's only good luck from here.
There you go.
Yep, ends up taking that.
Yeah.
Will she put it where we have theorized?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Was that not where you were thinking?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't actually realize those weren't connected yet. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, they weren't yet connected in order to grab that.
Yeah. I was thinking she would put it like to the northeast so that she could put a bear down there.
Right.
Because she does want 4 bears at some point.
That's true. Yeah.
But maybe she decided that was too much, or that was too ambitious. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. It would give a nicer spot for the bear later on if she's forced to take something else.
Yeah, and right now she only needs a hawk. Like, that's a dead tile to her unless she starts another bear group.
No, I think you're right. I think it would have been better on the other side, and hope that you can loop back around just because of that bear flexibility.
Yeah. And if you get 2 water tiles down there, that does put you in the lead for water. So, yeah, she had a lot to think about, though.
Yeah, really tough call between the 2. But I think because of her dead tile on the left, I feel like having the option for the bear might have been the better play, even if it does sacrifice that water.
Yeah. She may have been counting up how many water tiles have like come out in the game.
Right.
I believe, let me think. I want to say there's 25 tiles with water on them in the game. So maybe she was
total.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So it's James' move now. Everyone here just kind of wants Hawks. Everything else is just not exciting at this point.
Yeah, 20 water tiles by my count are out. Maybe 19. I think I might have counted one of a starting tile. Yeah.
Or the starting ones.
Oh, yes.
All right, James going for Hawks. I like it.
James going for the Hawks. Gary likes this. That is happening now. He wants to see
benefits.
All right. To benefit off of James's tokens here. Gary hoping to see 2 of them.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, there's number 1.
He gets his Hawk, and he gets it in the spot that he wants it. That's the exact spot that he needs it for the terrain.
Yep. Great luck from James there.
Wow, that's a great pull. All players having benefited from some very clutch pulls at opportune moments. I can remember reacting very positively. This
and
feels
it's a dual
surprising.
habitat, incredible. Yeah.
Wow. He's going to opt for the dual habitat instead of placing it down below for his pinwheel, though. Still needs another hawk placement to go down there.
He does have time, so I don't think it's the worst thing ever.
And there is one still left on the board.
Yeah, and building out wetlands and plains here, like, that's putting pressure on both of his opponents.
Yeah.
Laura has 7 for the wetlands, and James is currently at 6, I believe.
Yeah, he's really made a comeback.
Yeah.
We thought it was locked, but...
Gary over there has...
Plains feels untouchable.
8 plains, yeah. He has plains, like, for sure. Gary going for Hawks.
Laura wanting to see 2 Hawks pop out.
Yep.
I think Gary would be happy with 2 Hawks popping out right now, just because it potentially takes it from James, but maybe not. They both James and Laura need 2 Hawks.
Yeah.
Everybody needs 2 Hawks to survive.
I think it's hard to say who's like in the lead here. I don't think there's like an out front winner at this point. Like everyone is still very much in it.
Feels very close. Yeah,
I think Gary has the weakest on-board position, I would say, but he also has the most nature tokens, so most opportunity to like get those Hawks when he needs them.
He could grab that Fox to connect his forest. He needs that forest connection. He would get an additional 2 points from that Fox. He has that 1 for wiggle room. Oh, but he opts for the elk instead, extending the plains. That feels a bit risky.
Yeah, but you could do it without finding a microtech.
Although I think that's a 4-point bump for Gary, but he needs those forests to connect later on down the line. But he gets the nature token back at least, which is why he
definitely wants to play more like elk is like a filler here because they're worth like a good amount of points on their own. Doesn't pull a hawk, he's probably glad that that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm Laura here. I am not having a great time, I think.
Yeah. It feels like a not great situation for Laura, and this is maybe one of the exact situations where if you had gone on the opposite side, you'd have that bear flexibility.
We'll be able to put the fox down to...
At least in a centrally position. It's still not a great fox placement, but it could give him the opportunity to get at least a pine cone back to sort of search, but you may not have the turns.
Yep.
I think she's only got
starting
2
more
turns
bears.
left. Yeah, I think she only has 2 turns left though.
And they have to both be hawks.
They both have to be hawks in order for that to hit. Same with Gary, 2 turns left and they both have to be hawks. James has 3 turns left. 2 of them have to be hawks.
Because the salmon can only touch.
There's only 5 hawks left in the bag, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and that's a nice pull for James, a free wipe.
Yeah,
Oh,
give the wipe.
I mean, you get a point out of it.
Okay.
Are you sure you don't want the salmon? Yeah.
Yeah, trying
get those salmon out of here.
Trying to convince him. Say, don't worry.
Wow. Now that's exciting.
All the players. This is turning into a game of Raw.
No.
There's
Oh,
one
the
hawk.
James, the relief you can see on his face.
Yeah.
Gives him some wiggle room.
And it's on a wetlands, which is a majority he is contesting.
And it's not a double hawk,
the
so
clear is
yeah.
he's not happy.
Of,
Should be an easy choice from James.
Because she actually
Can't imagine he's going to spend the pine. Well, he could spend the pine cone just to get the hawk spot.
I think at this point you're
not sure if
tough.
another's going to come out. Yeah.
That is where that other placement feels right now. It feels tenuous, right? Like I feel like that dual habitat placement. He sacrificed a lot by doing that.
No, after you take your tile,
Yeah, you'd be much happier being like the other way around here.
thought
Just having a dead tile
It
there.
just occurred to me. It was
Is
like
it possible to
Yeah.
take the tile first and then like the creature for animal?
it's a simultaneous pick.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
Cool.
they're
all right, then both are locked.
But yeah, you couldn't like take this and then a thing comes out and you're like, oh, I don't want the next person to get these and clear them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just talking about the
It
order of
just occurred to me. I
operations
was like, wait,
of
you can't. That's not a
drawing
trade.
things. Whatever you pick 2 at the same time. Place place them into your board and then refill after you pass the card.
I can try to find it if you want. I can try to find it if you want. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just making sure everything is in order. I imagine James is just like trying to decide how much does he have to visualize in his head, or can he like pick up stuff and like kind of put it around. But yeah.
Yeah,
How many
James,
pine
I
cones
think
does James have?
he's playing with them right now, but I think he's at 2.
Yeah, he's at 2. Cool.
You're correct.
Yeah, Gary's seeing I have 2 turns and I need 2 hawks.
You have 18.
I guess I have 3.
Yep. No, those poor hawks are going to be hunted to extinction in the bag. I feel.
So I have 3.
I think everyone is going to be really pulling for them.
Yeah, and I think Laura not having those nature tokens, using them early up. We've seen great restraint from James and Gary throughout the course of this game, and this is where it matters most.
And you know the rule. You have now taken more than 5 hawks. So
He's just praying that no one takes the tile with the hawk on it, which
Perfect.
I'll allow it.
The rule saying once you've taken your
Passing-
5th hawk,
passing
you
grade.
have to give your best hawk
No
impression,
matter how I place.
yeah.
decided by the players.
This will all have been worth it.
I actually didn't realize I had
All
that many
right.
times. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, I think we're going to
That's
see another wipe
probably
from
a
Gary.
wipe. Yeah.
Gary wanting to see 1 hawk and no more.
Those animals.
Gary's certainly not wanting to see 3 hawks at this point.
Just wipe them all. Get them all out of here.
Enjoy making hawk moves.
Oh, I shall.
Dan's just like, yeah, I'll totally pull a hawk for you.
Oh,
Nice.
ground hawk.
Oh,
Okay.
not that one.
A ground hawk
Very
there,
close.
as the foxes shall be referred to.
Is this
Yeah.
closer?
No.
Uh-oh.
The large grizzly hawk.
I'm trying.
The grizzly hawk.
Left. I'll have you.
That's true.
No, that's not it either. James, you're pulling the wrong tiles out of the bag. Come
Gary's
on,
starting
dude.
to sweat here.
It feels like a hawk.
Does it feel like a hawk?
No.
It is an elk. I think we'll see another wipe from Gary.
Second pine cone.
There's no other option at this point.
Yep.
Everybody's going to be doing this. Everyone's going to be spending their pine cones. If you get it, I think he might be deciding: do I sacrifice? Do I get the elks? But I don't see
No.
how that's ever worth it for him.
I think if you're in Gary's position here, you have to get the wheel to be competitive in the game.
Yeah.
His board's not bad, but
He spent
just
too much
feel-
time setting it up too, with like suboptimal landscape
Yeah.
placements for it to not pan out.
I think James is probably currently in the lead here on terrain. Even though he doesn't really have he doesn't actually have any clear majorities, but all of his terrain are good, and they are contesting like majority in like a couple areas. So,
and we were talking during the bathroom break too about the idea of that it is only James who has extended all of his terrains from his initial starting placement, and whereas the other two sacrificed one of each, and then rebuilt elsewhere. And maybe we're seeing that benefit pan out now.
Yeah.
Gary taking a long time to decide if he does go for it. I think he's calculating.
Let's do it again.
I could take the elk. I could keep my elk run going, my group of elk. Would that get me enough points to hold on to these nature tokens?
Never hurt anyone.
Sunk cost fallacy, never hurt anyone, he said.
Hey.
He pulls the hawk.
There it
He wants to
is.
see no more hawks.
And that's
Stop
good
there,
because he probably wants to take that tile to deny it from James and Laura as well. So that was the best tile for the hawk to come out on.
That was a really good draw. Cost him 2 nature tokens to do it, but
Yeah.
feels
I
correct.
was just thinking of Fox, because that way, like, they each go on a thing that they can go with.
Wow. Yeah, Gary pointing
And-
out that every tile can go on something.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see here, this is going to be Laura's hopes and dreams right here. Laura needs a hawk to come out right now. Or else Laura does not have the turns to complete the pinwheel. And will have to pivot.
Thank you.
Gary making
Even
his
getting
customary 5th hawk noise.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Just connect the forest. Now he
Yeah.
is at 6, which puts him tied with James for forest majority.
Yeah.
Or secondary, sorry. Laura has by far the majority.
Yeah.
Alright.
All those back in.
Yes, thank you.
Are we
Laura
okay,
not wanting
yep.
to put all those other ones back into the bag, wanting the odds to be a little bit
Elk and
more
Foxes
in
that
her
everybody's
favor.
clamoring for back in the bag.
Will we see a hawk be drawn? Will this be the draw of the century for Laura? Laura still will then need to hit a hawk and...
Oh my god.
There it is.
Wow.
She's smiling.
Wow. The dream's
Have to take
still
it.
alive for
Now
Laura.
it's your turn. Let's
Works
hear it.
well for the bear because you can put it next to the other bear in the ocean too.
Sorry, terraforming
Yep.
Mars people.
Cool. And that gives her
Assuming
an
that
out
that's
for a
what you
bear
were
if she doesn't get a hawk.
Yeah.
Going to take.
Oh, she needs to...
Oh,
she needs to
connecting
connect
this
that mountain.
terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is it, you speak Hawk?
Yeah, that bear...
That makes sense,
I
yeah.
think that bear placement is going to be something that she regrets. But wow, what a pull! What an extraordinary pull from
Oh, yeah.
Gary
That
for
would be fine,
Laura.
of course.
That was like the odds of that happening with the what's remaining in the bag. It was
Not
4
great,
out of
yeah.
the remainder of all the animals. So 4 out of 40-ish. A little bit more than 40, 43, 46.
Now there's only
Yeah.
2 in the bag?
There's only there's only 2 in the bag.
Yeah,
So
there's
it's a
only 2
3.
now.
It was a 3 out of like 43 chance to be
Dang.
pulled in that moment, and Laura makes good on it. Laura will be entering Raw
kinda
next
fun.
World Series.
Cool. See 1, 2, 3, and 4.
It was all that bad luck earlier.
That's true. You said it.
Finally came back. Yep.
You said it. You said it. Good thing Laura's gotten all her bad luck out of the way, and that makes good. That's why.
So-
That's why you're the 2023 ring champ.
The straight.
You know
Yeah.
how the bag works.
Yep. There's a saying I like
I
to
think I started
kind
at
of think
4.
about, which is if you win a game, it's all skill. If you lose a game, there's just bad luck.
Yeah, wow.
100%.
Things
Yeah.
gamers
Mhm.
knows about things.
Yeah.
That's
James
weird. That
deciding-
happens for all of my games too. That's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every game I've lost, I was just unlucky. You know,
Yeah.
What can you say?
What can you do? You can't fight it.
Does James wipe here? I would. There is a hawk tile out there. Maybe he just takes the bear. But
Yeah.
he has no spot to put the bear. It's tough.
It would just be a dead bear, but
I would probably. Why? Oh, okay. He's just gonna take the deer.
wow.
Get
Gives
this.
himself-
Yep.
yeah.
Get the nature token. Give himself some more ammo to potentially get the hawk later.
This feels really dangerous, though. Leaving
is.
that. Well, he knows that Gary's got to wipe it. So, I guess he's hoping.
All right.
Like, if I'm Gary,
Two of
I
them
guess
in
you
there.
have to wipe.
That wasn't
So close.
But if he doesn't make good, if he wipes and doesn't get it, he will absolutely just take whatever is in that first position as a tile denial play to make sure that James doesn't have the opportunity, so that they're all at 5. Maybe, you know what, all this focus around this spin wheel of death, and maybe we're not going to see a single one get completed, and all of them will end up at 5, in which case, I don't know. I think I would like James' chances currently if they all end up at 5. But Gary's got a really strong bear and elk presence, which the other players have kind of faltered on.
Yeah, but James has some really good foxes there too, and his salmon are pretty good.
Yeah.
Let me see. 4.
Yeah, he has a 5.
We're in Vegas. Let's.
He has a
do this.
5-point fox
Clear 'em
and a
all.
3-point.
All right.
He says,
Yeah.
Gary says we're in Vegas. Let's go. Let's wipe them all.
Yep. Vegas, baby.
James seeing if he can pull out the hawk for Gary. Gary getting 3 shots at it.
I'm now out of nature token.
He wanted it on that tile too to deny James.
Yeah. He's out of nature tokens.
Oh,
He's got one chance
final
left to get
pull.
this hawk.
Let's see it.
It's not looking good for Gary.
Oh, the final one.
That
James is
is-
like, man, suddenly the game is very hard.
That is incredible. The expression on Gary's face. Gary
On the river.
Yep.
hitting it on the river. He said, "Vegas,
Yeah.
baby."
There it is.
He has
The first wheel completed.
wow.
Just more of a raven.
He he gets something with the forest, so he can add to that
build
forest.
out
Take
his majority. Yeah.
yeah, take it back to
Tie
7.
James
and
back
tie.
up. Mhm.
Wow.
Definitely, yeah. You got to continue the forest here. Because you don't get a point from it, but you deny James a point. And James is looking like
Well, James is the only
biggest
one with nature
competition.
token, right?
Yeah.
Unless the next thing is a hawk and a hawk, a tile coming out of the bag. It is a hawk placement.
Can I see the wording? Yes.
This could be. I mean, Laura's gotten rid of her bad luck as well. There's a hawk on that tile. She needs it to come out. This is also great news for James because it gives him a couple outs here. Laura can't hate draft and deny him.
Not it. Tragic.
That's tragic.
That's
for
the game.
Laura.
That's the way the game's been going.
Yeah.
We're at probably like what, a 1 in 38 chance or something like that now
Yeah.
for the Hawks. So
I think
miracles
even-
don't happen
even more
twice.
if- I guess if there's 100 animals in, and by the end they will have used
Take both of those.
60, but there are additional 4 on the board. Yeah, so I think 1 in 38 feels
One nature
correct.
token to go from 0 to 1, please.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah,
Your prairie and your mountain.
Thank
Good.
you.
Yep. Gets that.
and gets a double tile. I mean, the best you can do in that situation.
Yeah.
Extends the mountain, which is important to make sure that stays ahead of James.
hmm
The last tile, James is looking for.
Just keep this hand.
So
Not there.
James has essentially 2 wipes right now to get a hawk because he needs to keep his 3rd nature token to pair that hawk
Yep.
with the tile, which could have been avoided had James not opted for that double landscape. He would have 3 wipes, which at this point feels like you kind of wish you took the additional odds.
Yeah.
James-
Does he have the wetlands? 7 to. It is 7 to 7 on the wetlands actually. So,
Yeah,
but he can't extend the wetlands with where the hawk needs to go. So yeah, it doesn't end up really paying out for him.
I think we're going to see James take a while with this decision because he's making that calculation. He's saying, hey, I have an additional 3 points right now. There's only one hawk left in the bag. Even if I draw, 2 more passes, that still only gives me 8 out of 38 to hit this hawk.
Mm-hmm.
And is it worth burning all of my 3 points for when I could just take the wetlands there and maybe pair something else? Maybe grab a fox in the process. Steal wetlands majority, scoop up an extra 2 points for the fox. It's essentially an additional 4 points versus the hawk that would give him 9 points.
Yeah, if I was in James' position and time was not an issue, I would be counting up how many points Gary over there has. Yeah. He is the final player, so he has this luxury. Yeah. Does he win if he doesn't go for the hawks? That's probably what he's trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, he just needs to do that calculation. Which feels unlikely based upon the strength of Gary's elk and bear. It's wild. Gary doesn't have a single fox
which is insane. Yeah, because foxes I think are typically the best, with the exception of Hoxie coming out. But his salmon is very good.
Yeah,
he ended up making that work pretty beautifully. Getting good value from his bears and elk too. So.
Yeah, 11 points off of those 3 salmon.
Yeah, and he does currently have the terrain majority for both water and plains. Water could be contested by James. Plains, absolutely not.
Yeah, you have to make a choice if you're James, and I guess you're going to take points away from Gary at this point. And so obviously we contest the water over the wetlands.
Yeah, unfortunately for Laura, I don't think she is in this one. I think it will be between James and Gary here.
He could extend his mountain by 1 and also scoop up a bear for the cost of 1 nature token as well.
Extending the mountain would give him essentially 1 more point because he would move from splitting majority with Laura to getting 3 points for it.
Yeah.
So he would go from 2 to 3. If he gets a forest here, he also just denies Gary a point for getting 2nd place because they would tie 2nd, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, he would actually pull into 2nd over him, so he would get a point there either. So. Honestly, any of these tiles will help
he'd pull
James
into first.
Get points.
He'd do a tie in first, I think. I think Laura's still only sitting at 8. Oh, no, she's at 9 for us. Laura's at 9 for us. So, it would, pull him into
2nd.
Yeah.
Every tile there can help James get a majority or a secondary in something. So. Yeah.
Which shows, the methodical nature at how he has planned out these landscapes too, giving him this flexibility now. But I haven't added anything up yet, but it just doesn't feel like he would be able to beat the 36 off the hawks plus the 4 bears 13, and then 4 elk as well. Those are good solid numbers. There's not really a wasted animal on Gary's board right now. He's managed to pair up all of the stuff that needed that pair.
Yeah.
Gary getting that draw on the river, the last tile drawn being that hawk that he needed. Also, wild chances for Gary to hit that hawk. It's going to be tough. I feel like James needs to hit it or not, but I think he's regretting that dual landscape placement now. If he had 3 chances of getting the hawk, I think he'd go for it. No problem.
Yeah.
That's enough. It's good odds.
Yeah, there's also good odds of him hitting a free refresh somewhere in there as well, or even if he gets lucky, a full wipe, which would be nice. Especially considering there's only 6 foxes out on the board right now, so there's a bunch of foxes in the bag.
Yeah.
Waiting to overpopulate and just get sent away again.
The groundhawks, I think, because they were referring to them.
Yeah.
We see James taking a long time with this decision, but it's an important one because it will decide the fate of the game and the winner of this ring. Laura looking like she's not in it because of...
Here we go.
And he makes the decision.
Oh, wipe.
Gary asking if he's clearing them all, or will James leave one little lone fox out there as a benefit? But he needs every chance that he can get to pull a hawk. Or he needs to use his final nature token. He gets essentially 9 pulls because he could wipe it for 4, and then needs that first one to make good. Yeah. Well, this is where the hawk came out for Gary.
Oh,
will it come out for James?
See a bear. Oh, that's a free wipe for James.
Bear.
They're the bears.
Next best thing to see besides a hawk.
That is the next best thing. That is a really good result for James.
Freebie.
Yep.
A nice freebie. We'll see the foxes come out. We won't be able to see the full double wipe because of that salmon.
Yep.
Also really nice for James. No more foxes, so if he needs another wipe.
There's the bear. All right. Full wipe again. You're committed.
Yeah, at this point you've committed. You've lost the point. You've done your calculations. You need to hit on this next 4 or that additional 1, or else this game feels like it is all but Gary's.
7:22. 29.
James making those final calculations, seeing if anything has changed, but I don't think it has. I mean, I guess there is a bear with the mountain, but it's the same situation. He could have used a token earlier to take that mountain and bear to make the 3B.
That gets him, I believe, only 3 points for that bear, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably not enough to do it.
Just doing those final calculations to feel good about the decision of risking your luck moving forward. Gary chomping at the bit. He knows he only needs to see 4 non-hawks for him to take it and for him to take the ring and move on into the semifinals. James agonizing over this decision, not liking his luck. Laura having taken all the good luck with that 1 hawk pull, which at this point, Gary sitting on a full pinwheel, he's probably pretty happy that the odds are even worse in James' favor.
Yep. Gary's just hoping, don't see that final hawk. If that final hawk doesn't come out, Gary almost certainly has this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're done.
Oh, this is the last turn.
Gary looking up at Chairman of the Board John Hagmeyer, just poking by, seeing the result. We don't see a hawk.
Not on the ideal tile, but will it come out?
3 more chances. 2 more chances. That's a string. That's no good for James either.
Oh.
1 more chance.
1 more.
It comes down. It hit on the river for Gary. Will it hit for James?
Oh. It hits for James.
There you go.
There it is.
My God, Jerry! I'm conflated the 2 of them together. Wow.
Was that in fact enough for James? Judging by his expression, I think he did the math. I think he knows.
Yeah. And it's a forest as well. Gary says that sucks.
Let's take a look at all those hawks in that pile.
Basically,
wow.
He could have wiped exactly 1 more tile or 1 more token.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much his last chance.
Wow.
Man.
You saw the amount of tokens that were dumped out, like less than a 5% chance at that point.
Yeah. I was saying that I didn't think that the wheel would be pulled off again, like now that everyone knows to go for it. But in a 3-player game, there's enough hawks in there where 2 people could manage it.
2 people.
Man.
Wow.
Cool.
They're going for final scoring right now.
You do it.
All right, cool. Here we
You
go.
have good handwriting.
Sing.
Yeah, Gary's going to pull out early ahead here.
18 for bears for Gary.
Yep.
A group of 4, a group of 2, 13 and 5.
Good. Laura?
8. Group 3.
Just
8.
8 there for Laura.
Oof.
Yeah, the bear placement earlier.
Yeah, that does hurt her. Could have been worth an additional 5. Well, -2 though.
Yeah.
-1. So
Right.
a couple extra points could have been grabbed by Laura.
Which is 10.
But at this point, it's going to come down to
Gary's
Gary or
Elk
James.
got a 4,
Yeah.
which is 10 points.
James only getting 10 for bears. 4 bears for 10 points does not feel good at all, but it's not the worst thing ever. Elk.
Boom.
Yeah, Gary got 10 points for his 4 elk.
Fish.
Fish. I think I counted 11.
Should be 11. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah. 11 for
Okay.
Gary's salmon run.
Yep. Very good for 3 salmon.
1,
That's almost 4
3,
points of
4,
salmon.
5,
Yeah.
That is very nice.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
15 for 5 salmon. But still, Gary getting more value out of that.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
14 for 4 salmon for James. Gary getting
Also
the
pretty
best.
good.
Yeah.
We'll do foxes next.
That's what I was saying though. 3 salmon is
What is-
optimal. Like
Yeah.
beyond that, you start to get diminishing returns.
Yeah. But James making a really nice pickup with those 4.
Do we
Yeah. And his foxes are very good.
The word for it 'cause mine's the same.
It's the same as yours.
So James actually might be slightly ahead on animals here. Might be, because
Yeah, with those
it'll be close
foxes.
though.
36.
Yeah.
6. There are none left.
Yeah.
For real.
All
Yeah,
right.
2 of us got the full
The PJ.
circle.
The PJ, James is calling it.
Procedure.
Yeah.
Gary, your fox score.
0.
Laura.
Be nice if that stuck, but I think Pinwheel of Death is a little catchier.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, pretty good.
9,
Fox
10,
there.
11.
Lots of
11.
points for Laura.
Lots
Yeah.
of nice box points for Laura.
Almost 3 points of Fox.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not terrible.
2,
James got some really good foxes there.
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6.
Flipping over to make it easier to count. So 8 points, I think, from 2 foxes. Yeah.
8 points, but that's the difference between Gary's bear score and James's bear score.
Yeah.
So I think James is
Maybe slightly behind. Yeah.
he was 3 ahead of. He got 3 more points than Gary on fish, but 3 less.
Animal score.
Far
On
and
elk.
high.
So
Animal score.
they might actually be like that even then.
Yeah.
5, 52, 63.
It's a good animal score.
63 animals, even without the pinwheel.
Yeah.
31.
Still, like, Hawks are insane. Like, they can really, like, Hawksy will inflate the score of the game, like, 100%.
This is exciting.
Yeah, I think it is that
I think it might
tie.
come down to that forest
Dang.
on that last move.
They both get 75? Is that what that says?
I think
75
so.
is a
Visit Gary's
crazy
notes.
animal score.
The number.
Yeah,
by the way.
Gary's saying it's the best animal score he says he's ever had.
Yeah.
Sad animal.
Off the back of Hawksy.
No.
Laura.
Gary's saying it might come down to that forest play that matched up with the hawk.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Maybe it will come down to that double habitat. James took the risk, and it paid off.
1 and 1.
2 and
2 and 2.
I think you take the lower score.
No,
I think you add up the
but we will consult since it is the final. We have plenty.
Oh.
of time.
Gary hoping that a
Investigating the
tie
rulebook.
How we
means
scored it
that
earlier.
I will read it
Oh, wow.
to you.
Tie is
Oh, really?
2-2.
tie
I
is
believe.
2-2 for sure.
All right, so
Yeah.
You take them, add them together, and split it.
Mm-hmm.
Gary hoping that it's 1-1 just so that he can get a leg up. Yeah, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, have it
Let's-
that time.
Let's make it 1-1.
1 point. Oh, here we go. 55.
Yep, just making sure everything's in order.
Here we go.
Yep, confirming.
Mhm.
We'll soon get confirmation. I feel very confident that it's 2-2.
Yeah, same.
All right. I remember that. Isn't there different rules in the book that,
Oh,
I think it's on the
Trying to
top
find where
of
it is
the
in the
page on the
rulebook.
right.
for next large.
Yeah.
3-4 player.
Oh, that's right.
There we
I was
go.
looking down here.
Yep.
So yeah, it was 2 points. So we did that wrong earlier.
Should you be here?
Yeah,
It wasn't me who
really
got
gonna
it,
come down to the wire.
All right, everybody
Gary's
agree
saying
now?
it's easy to make a scoring issue. Laura's saying, hey, I'd like second place. Let's get him out of here.
Second place.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that would have just extended my lead.
Probably,
So.
All right.
All right.
Gary's saying, I'd like to carry the
Yep,
points
me
over
too.
to this match.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
9.
Got it.
Going through and counting up forests.
Oh
Yeah.
no, do you have 7?
I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep,
6.
that one extra
Yeah,
point.
that's what I thought.
Basically a 2-point swing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because I played to tie you.
Actually, it was a
points
1-point
to
swing
Laura?
because they would have been tied for second
Yeah.
and both get
9.
0. But
Yeah.
that 1 point might make the difference.
Yeah.
And James does have more
3 points
pine
to Laura?
cones, which is the tiebreaker. So.
Or no, James had to use his last pine cone to take the.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, grab the
Green,
2.
desert,
Yeah, it was
field.
called
Prairie.
desert.
I think
Prairie.
it's
Yeah, it's
prairie.
called
Yeah,
prairie.
as perfect tie as possible, but
My
we'll see.
prairie is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Then it
5,
goes
6,
down to
7,
seat
8.
order, in which case James would still take it.
It would be
Because I
James.
believe,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe third position's favored.
Got it.
Yeah.
10. Anyway.
Well, which makes sense in terms of the probability that we saw pan out with Hawks as well. Gary getting
Yeah.
that slight edge by going first.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, 5. So that is 3 points to Gary and 1 to James.
The upside to going last, though, is that you do have ultimate control over how the game ends.
Yeah.
7.
I thought you said it rained a lot up there.
Just checking the terrain.
No, that's why my
I think
river's
we're on
really big.
wetlands. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think James ended up getting it, right?
I think it's a tie. It's 7-7.
Tie 7-7, yeah.
Gary again wishing that it was 1 point for the tie.
There we go.
hmm
And finally, your river.
Yeah. James not being the outright winner in, like, I think any, like, terrain here, but he has contested very well,
Yeah.
like, the second place bonus and splitting first place on some of these.
Yeah,
So.
on most it feels so.
Yeah.
That might be what it comes down to.
hmm
And no second place.
Gary looking over, doing the quick math.
There we go. So, Gary, your habitat is 10, 19, 22, 24, 30.
33 for habitats for Gary.
Already he's at 108. Dang.
Yeah.
17,
Yeah.
20,
But that's his final score. He has no pine cones.
30, 32, 37.
37, Laura dominating in that
And James,
habitat with those majorities.
16, 17, 22, 23, 32, 37.
37
Yeah.
for
Yep.
James.
Gary,
He has it.
Also tying
how many extra
Laura.
tokens?
None.
Laura.
Killed it on terrain. 4-point victory, it looks like.
4-point
For
victory,
record,
which
how
just
many
happens to
extra
be
tokens, James?
that
I think it's-
because if
I
he
think
had
we still
taken,
don't
if he had
care,
kept his
right?
nature tokens and not gone for the Hawks,
Thank you.
Yeah.
and had just
Okay.
pulled 1, I think he could have gotten like 4 points, and so he would have ended up 1 point short. So
Yeah.
needing to get that
Had to
Hawk
go
in.
for it.
101 for Laura
101 for Laura, very respectable.
and 112.
112
Good scores all around.
for James.
112.
We all broke 100.
Really
I
good
don't think I've
score.
ever seen
It was fun
everybody break
camping with
100.
you.
Man, what an incredible match. Those Hawks were
Wow.
hunted to extinction.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So happy.
Yeah, 101, 108, and 112. But it is James Liao who becomes our Cascadia champion, the ring champion, 2024 ring champion. That game was nuts. That was
Yeah.
so well played on everybody's part.
hmm
It was just like it felt like nobody missed a beat.
Oh, yeah. I was down on Gary's board early on, but, like,
Mhm.
it came together looking pretty immaculate.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, very surprising that like no foxes as well, but Gary still had
Still
it.
108, yeah.
Yeah,
Now imagine
108
if you
with
played
no
foxes.
foxes. Wow, that's insane. That is, and
incredible game.
Gary dealing with so many of those like tough decisions at the beginning, making those
Yeah.
concessions, but holding out, keeping the nature tokens. James hitting those nature tokens, and Laura just not having that flexibility needed at the end when the Hawks were so hotly contested. That was a phenomenal game.
I think there's a lot to learn from this game, too. Like, if Hoxie's coming out, Got to make sure you set up for it like right out the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, because we almost saw that bite James in the butt too with that additional play, but his emphasis on the habitats made him tied with Laura in the habitats 37-37, and that ended up being that breaker. He tied Laura on habitats and tied Gary on the animals. Top spot in both, basically an amalgamation of their two games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man. Yeah. Speechless.
That was good. Yeah, I'm speechless as well. If you fancy yourself a pretty good Cascadia player and you want to compete in the World Series of Board Gaming or in any of the other 16 games, well, you can use that code EARLYBIRD to save some money off your ticket. We'd love to have you here in 2025. Come join the community, compete. And speaking of community, PJ, you participate in a board game community that also Gary was a member of too, as well, right?
Oh yeah. We're both in like a Discord group that basically practices for like the monthly like WSBG games. So there are a lot of like communities online where you can find like people in surrounding kind of just this tournament, but also like just board gaming in general. Like I think competitive board gaming is starting to really take off in large part because of WSBG. So if you want to get in while the field is still relatively small before it gets like insanely big, now was the time, I would say.
That's true. There's no better time than now. You can get your tickets at WSBGVegas.com. Remember to use that code EARLYBIRD again to save yourself some money. That'll be good until the end of the year of 2024, end of December. PJ, thank you so much for commentating on this. This was just such a friggin' blast.
Oh yeah,
so
this was
great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was an absolute pleasure having you here and having you get to share your Cascadia expertise, making us all better board gamers in the process. Peter, do you have anything else to say? Do you still make some Cascadia videos on your YouTube channel?
I still just have the 2 up. If you want to check those out, bite-sized strategy guides. Yeah, definitely recommend. I put a lot of work into them.
So what's that channel address for people to search?
It's called Bite-Sized Strategy Guides. It has an icon of like a little dice with a bite taken out of it.
Nice.
So if you want to just have a very quick strategy guide on how to, do well at Cascadia, highly recommend that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, hopefully, you just learned a lot from this game. Like, Cascadia is a pretty deep game in terms of like all the different like things you have to juggle at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this game, and you can go back and watch 2023's final as well. And
spoilers, I won. Sorry.
Yeah, spoiler alert. PJ's here with us. We keep referring to him as the 2023 champion. You may know the result of that, but hey, now you can see how it's done as well. We'll see if Hawk C makes its 3rd appearance in 2025 or if something shakes up the system. But if it does, now you've got all the preparation you need. Thanks again, PJ, and thanks everybody for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you hopefully in Vegas 2025, right?
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, for sure. You better count on it. I have some titles to reclaim.
You got some titles to reclaim, and we'll see all the viewers as well. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Chris George.
I'm PJ.
And from all of us here at WSBG Vegas, what are you waiting for? It's time to get in the game.